Chapter 907. Lin Feng pulled with his hand, and the path made of light in the void was forcibly pulled like a tangible rope. At the end of the path, there seemed to be an extremely heavy object being pulled together. That kind of heaviness was hard to describe in words, hard to compare with specific things, and hard to calculate with quantitative units. It was as if a world was being dragged. With Lin Feng dragging it, Monk Bao Sheng and the other golden cicada's 4 doppelgangers looked solemn at the same time. In Yingxi, I didn't think he had such magical powers. No wonder he could level Shu Mountain and break the fairy heaven sword. I thought it was strange before, but now it seems that it is understandable. Even Zhuyan, the great saint, looked at Lin Feng with even more solemn eyes. He took a deep breath and said, "Hiss, fortunately, I didn't fight him to the end. Otherwise, I would have been thrown down from the void." At the end of the path, a cold snort came. "Golden cicada, if he wants to fight, then let's have a good fight." In the void, a dim black light suddenly appeared. It was like a world, and there was an extremely pungent smell coming from it, making people want to vomit. Even Lin Feng had such a smell before when he came into contact with the Blood River True Water. However, the water in the Blood River that he had come into contact with before was relatively limited, unlike the world in front of him, where the whole world was pungent with a pungent smell. Zhuyan looked over and suddenly frowned slightly. It's the dark marsh realm where Xiang Lu lives. What was pulled over by Lin Feng through the path of light was impressively a dimensional world. In this medium-class world, living beings were in misery and desolation. As far as the eye could see, there were pitch-black swamps everywhere. There were no signs of life. Above the pitch-black swamps, there was a black fog that was extremely pungent. To Lin Feng and Zhu Yin, the great saint, the black fog only smelled fishy and unpleasant. In fact, it was a poisonous fog that contained the absolute poisons of heaven and earth. Those with slightly weaker cultivation would immediately be poisoned to death upon contact with the black fog. Even human cultivators who had cultivated nascent divinities or demon race great sages who had cultivated undying demon souls had to be careful. If they were not careful, their nascent divinities and demon souls would be destroyed. On the surface of the black swamp, there was a huge snake with a human face and a snake body. It looked somewhat similar to the 9-headed fierce beast sage. However, the 9-headed fierce beast sage's 9 heads were all snake heads, while the 9 faces of this strange snake were no different from human faces. However, these 9 faces were icy cold and malicious, and they seemed to be extremely vicious and terrifying. All of them opened their mouths and spat out dense poisonous mist and sticky black liquid. This demon was precisely the great sage Xiang Lu. He occupied a dimensional world and transformed it into a boundless kingdom of swamps. It was filled with highly toxic swamps, and other living beings were completely unable to live here. Lin Feng looked at Xiang Lu with interest, and at the same time, he also sensed the dark swamp world through that shining path. TSK. No wonder this guy is hated by everyone. Even the other demon races can't tolerate him. He can only leave the infinite wasteland continent in disgrace and look for another place to live. This is what it means to leave nothing behind wherever he goes. Lin Feng's divine sense swept across, and he already knew that the dark swamp world occupied by the great sage Xiang Lu was actually extremely barren of spiritual qi. It had become a completely barren land, and even the power of boundaries had become a little thin. It must be the result of the great sage Xiang Lu's erosion year after year. However, the current fragility of the dark swamp world was a little abnormal, as if its foundation had been damaged. Lin Feng carefully sized up the great sage Xiang Lu and understood. I see, this guy has gone through tribulation. The great sage Xiang Lu in front of him did not show any signs of decline and was at his peak state. However, just like the great sage Zhuyan beside Lin Feng, he was also at the level of going through tribulation. However, he had probably just started going through tribulation and had not gone through more than 2 degeneration tribulations. His divine powers and dermic powers could not be compared to the great sage Zhuyan, But what was more unique was that the great sage Xiang Lu had temporarily refined the dark swamp world, so his strength could not be underestimated. However, after Lin Feng's gaze swept across him, and after getting a clear look at him, his attention no longer lingered on him, but turned to a figure in the void beside the great sage Xiang Lu. It was a handsome young monk dressed in gray, and he was smiling at Lin Feng. Who else could it be but Golden Cicada? Silently, he stepped on the void and stood among the layers of black fog. There was no Buddhist light protecting him, and no waves of demonic power, but he completely ignored the poisonous fog that covered the entire dark swamp world. Crouching beside Golden Cicada was a white tiger. Its eyes flashed with a cold and demonic light, devoid of any emotion. Faint light flashed all over its body like a metallic luster, but also like the starlight in the sky. It was mysterious and unpredictable, but also gave off a chilling feeling that made people tremble. Although it was not as easy as Golden Cicada, this demon was not afraid of the great sage Xiang Lu's poisonous fog at all. Seeing this tiger demon, Lin Feng and Zhu Yin were a little surprised. It's a pure-blooded white tiger. Sure, Tian Hao, Wang Lin, Yang Qing, and the others also looked over in surprise. Even Su Anda, who had been numb the whole time, an abysmal sage, who looked dejected, were attracted by the tiger demon's appearance. The appearance of this tiger demon was even more shocking than that of Feng Kong, who had run away, because compared to Feng Kong, white tigers were even rarer. Although there were mixed-blood descendants like the Gung Metal Tiger clan, pure-blooded white tigers had always been passed down only one bloodline. This contained both bloodline inheritance and power inheritance. In every generation, be it male or female, there was only one child. After mating with another demon race, no matter what race the target was, they would give birth to a pure-blooded white tiger cub. After that, they would only have mixed-blooded offspring. Only when the parents were alive and the children were dead could the previous generation give birth to another pure-blooded child. But after this pure-blooded child, they could only have mixed-blood descendants. Such characteristics also included the equally famous Vermilion Bird clan and Black Tortoise clan. However, the situation was different for the Azure Dragon clan, which was also known as the Primordial Heavenly Dragon clan. Legend had it that when a white tiger roared, stars would fall. Pure-blooded white tigers were born with powerful demonic powers and magical powers. Generally speaking, such demons who were born with powerful strength would find it difficult to advance in their cultivation in the future. The higher their starting point, the more difficult it would be to advance. They had to endure until they formed an indestructible demon soul before they could be on par with other demons. Tunten of the Taotai clan was in such a situation. He was born as an initial demon king, but it was extremely difficult for him to cultivate. However, the White Tiger clan was different. It was as if they were blessed by the heavens and were favored by the heavens. Not only were they born with powerful strength, they didn't find it difficult to advance like Tunten. They could cultivate however they wanted and were even faster than other demons. In a long Archean epoch, there was a period when the White Tiger, Vermilion Bird, and Black Tortoise clans were second only to the Primordial Heavenly Dragon clan. They were stronger than the Primordial Demonic Ape clan, the Fire Beast Feng Wu clan, and the Thunder Beast Ampa clan. However, the problem of the pure-blooded lineage had always troubled these three clans. As a result, the pure-blooded white tigers, vermilion birds, and black tortoises had always been few in numbers and unable to prosper for long. The pure-blooded black tortoises had even gone extinct towards the end of the Archean epoch. The pure-blooded white tigers had also not appeared in the Infinite Wasteland for a very long time. Even Lin Feng was a little interested when he saw them suddenly appear here. In the same realm, without any special treasures or fortuitous encounters, the White Tiger was one of the strongest demon clans in terms of actual combat. Lin Feng glanced at the White Tiger Great Sage and found that he was also at the first tribulation stage. However, like Zhu Yin, he was not far from completing the first tribulation and was only 1 or 2 degeneration tribulations away. Zhu Yin looked at the white tiger with a solemn expression. Although they hadn't actually fought, the tiger's name was like the tree's shadow. Given that they were both at the same level, Zhu Yin was afraid that he wouldn't be able to gain any advantage against the white tiger great sage. The white tiger great sage looked at Lin Feng with a cold look in his eyes. He stared back at Lin Feng and didn't back down at all. He was the one who urged Golden Cicada to fight Lin Feng. Lin Feng looked at Golden Cicada with interest and asked, "Are these the helpers you've roped in?" Golden Cicada smiled faintly. "Benefactor Lin, you kicked down the Shu Mountain Gate, cut the immortal heaven sword, and even made the Void Temple not dare to rashly start a war. With such strength, this poor monk naturally needs to find some friends to help. While Jiuying and Feng Kong are already at the astral soul integration realm, they're still able to spar with your disciples. If you're asking them to share my burden, then that would be too much for them." After Lin Feng returned to the universe, be it the Battle of Yujing Mountain, the Battle of Mount Shu, or the capture of Jiuying after coming to Infinite Wasteland, defeating Zhu Yin in a battle of sorcery, and forcing back the Blue Sky Dragon King with a single sword strike, Golden Cicada was clear that those who could intervene in the battle between him and Lin Feng had to be at least at the beginning of the tribulation stage. But such demons were also limited in the Infinite Wasteland. Golden Cicada had paid a huge price to get White Tiger Great Sage and Shangli Great Sage to help him. Even so, according to Golden Cicada's estimation, he still wasn't very confident of defeating Lin Feng. Although after the Battle of Mount Shu, Lin Feng had sealed the sky-crushing sword with the Bell of Creation and the Sky Punishment Sword formation in front of everyone, as Yujing Mountain and the Yin and Yang Life and Death Array were still there. Yujing Mountain was hidden in the void turbulence, and no one knew its specific location. If it had remained in the Kunlun Mountains in the Divine Land, it wouldn't be able to come at any time. But if it had followed Lin Feng to the Infinite Wasteland, it could come at any time. Although Lin Feng's head was empty at the moment, who knew if Yujing Mountain was right beside him? Moreover, even if Yujing Mountain had remained in the Divine Land, Lin Feng could have unsealed the Sky Punishment Sword in a life-and-death situation. That was why Golden Cicada had purposely set up a diversion, using Shangli Great Sage's Black Marsh Realm to set up an ambush in the void. He hadn't expected Lin Feng to see through it, and now the ambush had turned into a head-on fight. Lin Feng sized Golden Cicada up, the corners of his mouth curling into a faint smile. He thought to himself, "I don't intend to use the Sky Punishment Sword, and Yujing Mountain has also remained in the Divine Land. But you, Golden Cicada, definitely don't know about these things. If you want to go against me and make a plan, you have to take all of this into account. But the lineup in front of you is too weak even for an ambush. Do you have other preparations?" Chapter 908. Golden Cicada looked at Zhu Yin and said with a smile, "Jury, long time no see." Zhu Yin grinned and said, "Golden Cicada, you're the one hiding from your old friends, aren't you?" Golden Cicada laughed and said, "Do you want to fight me with Benefactor Lin? But Benefactor Lin is much stronger than you. I'm afraid you won't get much by cooperating with him." Zhu Yin Great Sage didn't get angry. He rolled his eyes, glanced at White Tiger Great Sage and Xiang Lu Great Sage, and said, "I can't do anything about it. I can't be compared to these two. I have many sons in my family. If you want your children and grandchildren to fill their stomachs, I'm afraid it won't be enough with just a little from your fingers. I have to take a risk." That being said, both Lin Feng and Golden Cicada knew that if the two sides really fought, Zhu Yin would most likely sit on the sidelines and reap the benefits in the end. Golden Cicada shook his head and said, "Although I can sacrifice myself, I can't fill the bottomless pit of greed." White Tiger Great Sage didn't look at Zhu Yin. His eyes were fixed on Lin Feng. He was really like a tiger eyeing its prey. Xiang Lu Great Sage was also a little restless. On the contrary, Golden Cicada looked at Lin Feng and shook his head. "Don't be impatient, both of you. It's not the time yet. Kunlun Dragon King has given up on Taiwan Mountain and is coming here. Slowly, we'll wait for him to arrive." White Tiger Sage and Xiang Lu Sage frowned at the same time. But since Golden Cicada was not going to make a move, neither would they. Golden Cicada coughed softly, and the radiant path connecting the dark marsh realm and the vast thousand worlds twisted as if it would break at any time. Lin Feng raised his eyebrows slightly and said, "Why? Are you in a hurry to leave now?" He clenched the radiant path tightly. Layers of talisman patterns shone in the void along with the colorful light, adding to the radiant path and making it more condensed. The colorful halos of the mystic gate's heavenly escape technique extended along the road and landed on the black marsh realm, firmly locking it in place. At the same time, the hazy and illusory celestial polarity cosmic light also spread to the black marsh realm, causing the time of that dimensional realm to come to a complete standstill. The poisonous mist floating in the air was like a solid statue. The roiling black swamp also became as hard as the earth. The next moment, Lin Feng pulled his palm backward forcefully, as if he was really pulling a rope, and was about to drag the entire dark marsh realm from the void into the boundless universe. When White Tiger Great Sage and Xiang Lu Great Sage saw this, their expressions turned grave. It was only now that they realized how terrifying Lin Feng's divine ability and magic power were. Seeing this, Golden Cicada sighed softly and said, "This was originally a setup for the battle against the master of the Mystic Gate, but now it seems that it can only be used to escape." Golden Cicada had the help of White Tiger Great Sage and Xiang Lu Great Sage, so he did not lose the confidence to fight Lin Feng. However, considering the existence of Yujing Mountain and the Heaven Punishing Sword, Golden Cicada did not intend to continue fighting with Lin Feng before he was sure of himself. Having made his decision, Golden Cicada hesitated no more. When he opened and closed his eyes, golden light flashed. In the void above his head, the vague shadow of a huge autumn cicada appeared. It was faintly discernible, and it was extremely huge. Xiang Lu Great Sage, who seemed to stretch across the dark marsh realm, had a huge snake body, but it was not even as big as the autumn cicada. The deafening sound of cicadas filled the sky, bringing with it an atmosphere of decay. The 9 faces of Xiang Lu Great Sage, who was beside Golden Cicada, opened their mouths and let out a shrill cry. The dark marsh realm suddenly shook. If one looked at this dimensional realm from the outside, it would look like a giant black egg. But now, the surface of this giant black egg was constantly bulging like bubbles. At the same time, there were also giant pits. The entire surface of this black egg was uneven and constantly fluctuating. As Golden Cicada's cicada cry sounded, Lin Feng did not have much of a reaction. But Zhu Yin Great Sage, who was beside him, suddenly changed his expression. He looked around because he suddenly felt that as the ancestral land of his primordial demonic ape clan, the Spirit Abyss Mountain, was shaking slightly. It was not the 9 Serenities Peak that was occupied by the ghost monkeys of the 9 Serenities, nor the 9 Serenities Peak and the minor mountains of his Zhuyin demonic ape clan, but the entire Spirit Abyss Mountain was shaking. Lin Feng's gaze swept across the shaking Spirit Abyss Mountain below, and he thought to himself, did Golden Cicada secretly hide some kind of treasure from Jihuang Xinyuan, and that's why he could trigger the changes in Spirit Abyss Mountain? But this feeling is not that he has taken control of Spirit Abyss Mountain, nor has he activated the power of the ancestral land of the ape clan. He is just borrowing part of the power of the ancestral land to do something. Even so, it is really amazing. But it should only be triggered when the current leader of the ape clan, the Great Sage, is not in Spirit Abyss Mountain. With the Great Sage at the main peak of Spirit Abyss Mountain, Golden Cicada could not succeed. Lin Feng glanced at Zhu Yin Great Sage. I'm afraid that with Zhu Yin at the main peak of Spirit Abyss Mountain, Golden Cicada would not be able to act rashly. But now he has succeeded. After all, no one knew that he had such a hidden trick. As he was thinking, Lin Feng saw the appearance of the Black Marsh realm in front of him gradually change. The desolate world that was originally densely covered in poisonous fog and black water actually gradually emitted a bright Buddhist light, covering the entire medium-sized world. In the bright Buddha's light, the black swamp and the rolling black fog disappeared. Instead, many Buddhas, bodhisattvas, arhats, jedis, and samanis were sitting in a golden pure land, chanting scriptures together. The chanting of Buddhist scriptures resounded throughout the heavens. In the center of that pure land that seemed to be filled with infinite auspiciousness and joy, there seemed to be a great Buddha, whose dharmic powers reached the heavens and the earth. Between his fingers, there seemed to be countless kingdoms of gods and Buddhas coexisting, going to paradise together. At the same time, in the vast thousand worlds where Lin Feng and Zhu Yin, great sage, were, a large amount of demonic qi soared into the sky, forming a huge domain space. For a moment, Lin Feng and the others in Spirit Abyss Mountain seemed to have left infinite wilderness and were in an independent world. In this independent world, a large amount of demonic qi turned into huge demon monkeys, roaring at the sky in unison, emitting a sense of lawlessness. And this world was connected to the pure land of Buddhist light that the Black Marsh realm had transformed into. At this moment, the peaceful and joyful pure land of Buddhism seemed to merge with the world of Spirit Abyss Mountain, where demonic qi soared into the sky, turning into a strange and distorted world. Half of it was the chanting of Buddhist scriptures, and the other half was the roar of tens of thousands of demons. And this fusion immediately produced a mysterious power, trapping Lin Feng and Zhu Yin, great sage, within it. In the pure land of Buddhism, Golden Cicada sat cross-legged with a seal, looking solemn and dignified, looking at Lin Feng calmly. The 9 nether 10 directions double manifestation realm. This was the preparation that Golden Cicada had made to ambush Lin Feng. Lin Feng's expression was equally indifferent. He did not mind the sudden activation of the 9 nether 10 directions double manifestation realm. As his divine consciousness swept out, although he did not fully understand its mysteries, at least he had a general understanding of its effects after activation. So that's how it is. If I had set foot on that path and headed for the Black Marsh realm, Golden Cicada would have activated the secret method the moment I entered the Black Marsh realm and passed through the domain passage. In this way, I would have been locked between the 2 realms by him. In this case, my mysterious heavenly escape would have been restricted, and I would have been unable to avoid the Dharma-ending catastrophe. At the same time, the domain boundaries of space would be completely blurred and chaotic, and it would also take time for Yujing Mountain and the sky-crushing sword to break through. This old cicada is quite wise. He is not confident that he can defeat me with his divine sense and Dharma power. So he forced me to endure the Dharma-ending catastrophe. After all, that is his greatest strength, and also the method of competition with the highest chance of winning. Not to mention the experts in the Dharma-ending realm who can defeat him in this aspect. There are only a few who could be compared to him. After understanding Golden Cicada's arrangement, Lin Feng's expression was still leisurely. He looked up and down, carefully savoring the mystery of the 9 nether 10 directions double manifestation realm. But if I use it now, I won't be able to achieve the desired effect. At best, I can only use the power of the distortion of the 2 realms to break free from my restraints and escape. Sure enough, under the distortion of the 2 realms, the path of light in Lin Feng's hand suddenly cracked inch by inch, looking like it was about to disintegrate. Only then did great sage Zhu Yin rush directly to the main peak of Spiritual Abyss Mountain without saying a word. Lin Feng stood where he was and watched this scene. He did not continue to use any means to stop it. Instead, his attention was focused on the demon realm that Spiritual Abyss Mountain had transformed into. The monk could run, but the temple could not. He still had the clues to find Golden Cicada. The ape tribe was prepared, and it would not be so easy for Golden Cicada to use this method again. Moreover, he had interrupted Golden Cicada's secret ritual and cut off the connection between Golden Cicada's true self and his Dharma doppelganger with the Dharma boundary barrier. Therefore, he got a lot of information, but Golden Cicada did not. The old cicada had plotted for so many years. No matter how cautious he was, he would take the initiative to show up for these things. However, Lin Feng was quite interested in the strange changes in spiritual Abyss Mountain. After all, there would be no more opportunities like this. The great sage and great sage Zhu Yan would certainly not be happy with anyone studying the ape tribe's ancestral land. After this incident, the great sage would be even more afraid of Golden Cicada. Lin Feng's eyes flashed. He opened his palm and grabbed something in the void. Strange streams of light fell into his palm. At this moment, the 9 Netherton Directions realm of 2 aspects collapsed, completely destroying Lin Feng's restraint on the Black Marsh realm. The 2 aspects realms separated together. The Buddhist light and Sanskrit sounds dimmed and disappeared, revealing the Black Marsh realm's original appearance and escaping into the void. And spiritual Abyss Mountain returned to the boundless world. However, the moment the 2 aspects realms collapsed, a beam of light passed through the void from spiritual Abyss Mountain and fell into the Black Marsh realm. In Golden Cicada's hand, a small disc could be seen. Benefactor Lin, we will meet again if fate allows it. Golden Cicada's voice also disappeared into the void. Lin Feng looked at the Black Marsh realm and the disc in Golden Cicada's hand. He chuckled. We will meet whenever we want. Why do we need fate? It won't be long before we meet again. At the same time that Lin Feng and Golden Cicada faced off outside a lush spirit mountain far away from spiritual Abyss Mountain, the void split open. A giant pig burning with blue-purple demonic flames rushed out. Before it went up the mountain, the fire pig howled at the spirit mountain. Eldest senior brother, bad news. Master and 3rd junior brother have been captured by the humans. Chapter 909. This spirit mountain was far away from the primordial demonic ape's ancestral land, the spirit Abyss Mountain. It was isolated in the sea, but it was filled with spiritual chi. It was an extremely wonderful paradise. However, this paradise was faintly discernible above the sea. Ordinary people would not be able to detect it, and it was somewhat similar to the scenery in the Ying Sea. Great Sage Tianfeng had obtained a treasure from the owner of this place, and he was familiar with the way, which was why he could find this place. He rushed out of the void and ran towards the spirit mountain. Oh no, oh no! Eldest senior brother, Master has been captured by the humans. Coming to this mountain, he did not dare to be presumptuous. The blue-purple demonic fire on his body disappeared, and his body shrank rapidly. From a body that was bigger than the spirit mountain, he became the size of an ordinary elephant. As he was shouting, he heard a very lazy voice coming from the spirit mountain. The voice interrupted him impatiently. Let him die. Great Sage Tianfeng opened his mouth, but did not dare to say anything else. He landed on the mountain, walked into one of the caves, and walked along the passage. Soon, his eyes widened, and he saw a huge hall. The furnishings were simple and casual. In the center of the hall, there was a huge stone platform. A figure was lying on the stone platform. His back was facing Great Sage Tianfeng, and he did not get up. However, Great Sage Feng Tian's ferocious expression became much gentler as he faced this figure. He didn't even dare to speak loudly as he cautiously approached the figure and said softly, Brother Monkey, look, he's our master after all. Master? The figure smiled when he heard that. He finally sat up from lying on his side. He straightened his body, stretched his back, and then turned around. He looked at Great Sage Tianfeng with a faint smile on his hairy face. He was not big, and he looked about the height of an ordinary adult human male. However, he was not in his human form. This was also a demon monkey. However, compared to apes like the Zhuyin demonic ape, the ghost monkey of the 9 Nether, and the divine monkey with 6 horns, he looked more like an ordinary monkey. Being stared at by the monkey, Great Sage Feng Tian became even more careful. He got down on all fours and actually bent his back. There was a smile on his ferocious-looking face. The monkey looked at Great Sage Tianfeng and grinned. Dummy, you should know that from the moment that old fool tricked me into wearing this thing, our master-disciple relationship was over. He raised a furry claw and pulled at his scalp, revealing a golden hoop. Seeing this, Great Sage Feng Tian also grinned and said awkwardly, "Master, this matter was indeed not handled properly. It was indeed not properly handled." Monkey waved his hand and said, "So, if he's captured, that's exactly what I want. It's best if he's eaten. One day, when I get rid of this damn thing, the first thing I'll do is find him and settle the score." Although the monkey's tone was calm, Great Sage Tianfeng's massive body could not help but shiver when he heard it. At this point, the monkey looked at Great Sage Tianfeng with an interested expression on his furry face. He asked, "You said that the human clan captured him. Who is he?" "That old fool is very slippery. I tried to find him a few times, but he slipped away every time." The golden hoop on his head was put on by Golden Cicada. Golden Cicada had a secret spell. Once he recited it, the monkey's demon soul and true form would be restrained together. He would be in excruciating pain and could only be manipulated by Golden Cicada without being able to resist. However, the effect of this secret spell could only be activated once within a certain period of time. Therefore, after the monkey recovered, he would fight Golden Cicada with all his might every time. Golden Cicada did not want to fight him head-on, so he would hide. Only after this period of time had passed would he let the monkey know of his whereabouts again, causing the monkey to stomp his feet in anger. However, the monkey had a stubborn and wild temper. Even though he was restrained by the band-tightening spell, he was unwilling to lower his head to Golden Cicada and was unwilling to obey orders. Although Golden Cicada could use the band-tightening spell to control him, it was difficult to kill him. Therefore, Golden Cicada usually did not come to see him. The monkey was extremely displeased, but as long as the band-tightening spell was in effect, he could not do anything to Golden Cicada. After trying a few times to no avail, he no longer had the interest to take the initiative to get tortured. Therefore, he simply ignored Golden Cicada and did not see him. The two of them seemed to have no intention of interacting with each other. Seeing that the monkey was staring at him excitedly, Great Sage Tianfeng hesitated for a moment and said hesitantly, "Actually, it's not that Master was captured by the human clan, but that his 4 Dharma clones have most likely fallen into the hands of the Master of the Celestial Sect of Wonders." Ouch! Before he could finish speaking, the monkey had already knocked him on the head. "You idiot, your words are so inaccurate. You made me rejoice for nothing." Great Sage Tianfeng felt that his head was almost smashed, but he did not dare to cry out in pain. The monkey was being careful. If he had really used force, his head would have been turned into a pile of minced meat. Brother Monkey, don't be angry. I'm really here to inform you." Great Sage Tianfeng snorted and said, "Think about it. The opponent this time is so powerful. If Master wants to deal with him, he has no choice but to let you do it." He looked up at the monkey and said softly, "I haven't used Master's band-tightening spell recently." The monkey rolled his eyes. His expression did not change at all. He was still calm, but he exuded an unyielding aura that no one could make him yield. So what? If he asks me to do it, I have to listen to him. If he has the ability, he can curse me to death. Anyway, I won't listen to him. If he can't curse me to death, I'll find trouble with him with his opponent. Great Sage Tianfeng shrunk his neck. But third junior brother has also fallen into the hands of the Master of the Celestial Sect of Wonders. The monkey's expression changed a little. He looked at Great Sage Tianfeng and asked, "Is that true?" Great Sage Tianfeng nodded repeatedly. The monkey asked again, "The injury on your forehead is also related to the Master of the Celestial Sect of Wonders." "I was injured by the disciple of the Master of the Celestial Sect of Wonders," Great Sage Tianfeng said, feeling wronged. The monkey stared at him for a while, and a faint smile appeared on his face again. "This injury didn't hurt your core. Although your self-healing ability is not as good as third junior brother's, your injury should have healed after such a long time of battle. You purposely came to see me with your injuries so that I can help you vent your anger?" Great Sage Tianfeng smiled and said in an ingratiating manner, "Brother Monkey, I forgot. I was so anxious to see you that I forgot about the injury on my forehead." He rolled his eyes and said with righteous indignation, "Brother Monkey, You don't know how arrogant those people from Xianmen Tianzong are. Even if they don't give face to Master, they have to give face to you, don't they? I've already mentioned your name, but they still injured me. Third junior brother has also been captured. The master of the Celestial Sect of Wonders even said that he would follow Brother Monkey to find him. If you dare to go, then it'll be great. I'll capture you and Old Pig together. When the time comes, you and third junior brother will be paired with a table of dishes. Roasted pig, snake soup, and monkey brains. Don't you think that's infuriating? The monkey looked at great sage Tian Feng and sneered. You're lying. Keep lying. Others might not know you, but how can I not know what a fool like you is? I'm afraid that you fled before the master of the Celestial Sect of Wonders even showed up. You slipped away before you even saw the master of the Celestial Sect of Wonders, right? Even though great sage Tianfeng's pig skin was thick, he felt a little flustered when he heard that. His blackish-purple face turned red. Brother Monkey, where did you start saying that? The monkey scratched the back of his ear and flicked his nails. You, third junior brother and fourth junior brother, have all told me about the master of the Celestial Sect of Wonders. If the rumors are true, you'll probably be captured in a few moves when you meet the master of the Celestial Sect of Wonders. How would you have the chance to talk nonsense with him? Great sage Tianfeng snorted. Brother Monkey, but third junior brother was captured by him, and I was injured by his disciple. This is all absolutely true. I'm afraid that master can't even protect himself. We can only rely on you to get back at him. Ouch! As he spoke, the top of his head was knocked by the monkey again. The monkey said, you actually want to sit on a mountain and watch the tigers fight. You also want the flesh and blood of that old fool, Golden Cicada, right? Great sage Tian Feng laughed awkwardly and snorted. Outsiders like White Tiger and Xiang Lu can have a share, but we don't. Master really didn't do it right. Seeing the monkey give him a sideways glance, great sage Tian Feng hurriedly added, even if third junior brother and I don't have full confidence in going through the tribulations, you should at least buy this for us first. Whether you can get that old fool Golden Cicada or not is your own business. I don't care. The monkey, who had been sitting, finally stood up from the stone platform at this moment. With a whoosh, he jumped off the ground and walked out of the cave in a wobbly manner. On the other hand, the master of the Celestial Sect of Wonders has captured third junior brother. I'm going to meet him for a while and get him back. Great sage Tian Feng followed beside him and said with a smile, Brother Monkey, I really didn't lie to you about something. The master of the Celestial Sect of Wonders is indeed arrogant. He runs amok in the divine Abyss Mountains and does whatever he wants. It's not that I want to say this, but those of your clan are too useless. They just let a human come and go as he pleases in their ancestral land. Great sage Zhu Yan's strength and cultivation are very high, but he follows the master of the Celestial Sect of Wonders like a servant. He's really a disgrace to your primordial ape demon clan. The monkey walked along and laughed nonchalantly when he heard that. Those who are capable are capable. What's so surprising about that? But hearing you say that, I'm getting more and more interested in meeting him. Amidst the laughter, the monkey came out of the cave. With a tap of his foot on the spirit mountain, he somersaulted and disappeared. Great sage Tian Feng hurriedly followed. At this moment, Lin Feng stood in the void at the top of the divine Abyss mountain range. His eyes were slightly closed as if he was resting. Beside him, Shi Tianhao, Wang Lin, Yang Qing, Li Yuan Feng, Luo Qingwu, and Tunten formed a circle. In the middle of the circle, the dark green True Yin water turned into a water ball and wrapped Zhou Yinsong inside. Yang Qing's expression was solemn. After a while, she breathed a sigh of relief. His mental state is just a little weak. He needs my protection for a period of time. Otherwise, he may not be able to control his burning sun body freely, and it will easily cause spontaneous combustion. Lin Feng didn't open his eyes. He had checked Zhou Yunsong's spirit when he sent it back to his physical body. His examination was even more detailed. Not only did he check Zhou Yunsong's physical condition, but he also checked to see if Golden Cicada had left any secret marks or tampered with it. In fact, there was nothing special. Instead, Lin Feng interrupted Golden Cicada's secret technique ceremony and seized his altar. He had gained quite a lot. Chapter 9:10. The first and most obvious gain was the many Sariras. When the Great Lane Monastery was destroyed, a large number of Sariras fell into the hands of the Great Zhou dynasty, and some were scattered outside. A considerable number of these Sariras were collected by Golden Cicada. Golden Cicada naturally could not use the Sariras as materials to refine treasures like Liang Pan and Zhu Hongwu. The Sariras that fell into his hands were properly preserved. Lin Feng paid attention to them and could even feel the remaining incense offerings from them. This time, they were only invited by Golden Cicada to help set up the Dharma altar. In the end, Lin Feng captured all of them in one fell swoop. Previously, when they were fighting for the 3 mountains of Yingzhou in the Yingxi, Zhu Yi had once collected a batch of Sariras from Monk Dakong. After sending them back to the ruins of the Great Lane Monastery and burying them, Lin Feng received a kasaya from the system. This kasaya was not a Dharma treasure, but it could protect one's body. Its greatest function was that it was overflowing with Buddhist Dharma, making it easier for people to meditate and comprehend Buddhist Dharma. Lin Feng had originally planned to give the kasaya to Zen Master Dade, but Zen Master Dade had insisted on not accepting it. According to him, if Lin Feng found a Sariras in the future, this kasaya could be used to protect and nourish the Sariras. Lin Feng did not insist, so he took it with him. Now that he had encountered a Sariras, he immediately took out the kasaya, wrapped it around the Sariras, and put it away. Next, Lin Feng's mind was immersed in the mystic ritual that Golden Cicada had just held. The ritual was about to be completed when it was interrupted by Lin Feng and was not fully completed. However, the information he had gained so far had already given Lin Feng a lot of benefits. One scene after another flashed through his mind, comparing it with what Lin Feng thought before, making him nod his head repeatedly. So my guess before was correct. I just didn't think that it would actually be like this in the end. Lin Feng recalled the scene that flashed through his mind. In the dark void, he could faintly see a figure, but it was extremely ethereal, almost indistinguishable. And in this dark void, there was a deathly stillness containing great terror. It was like the end of the world. Everything returned to nothingness. Through the golden alms bowl and Marquis Jing Huan's memories, Lin Feng had seen this scene once before. This deathly darkness was the most mysterious of the 7 seas of the heavenly origin 7 seas, the Dead Sea. The faintly discernible figure in the Dead Sea was even more mysterious than the Gautama Buddha. Needless to say, that figure was most likely the founder of the Taishu Temple, the Taishu Taoist who had gone to the Dead Sea with Buddha. Silently, Lin Feng looked at the ethereal figure and saw a round mirror floating beside him. The Haotian mirror had always been in the Divine Land, so this mirror was naturally not the Haotian mirror. If Lin Feng's guess was correct, this should be the earliest Dharma treasure that the Taishu Taoist carried with him, the supreme yin-yang mirror. This treasure was not refined from the embryo of a Dharma treasure of creation. Instead, it had been promoted step by step from a spirit-nurturing gray Dharma treasure. Back then, it had only been a piece of paper away from attaining the creation realm. Even today, many people believe that this treasure was the one closest to success among all the Dharma treasures used to attack the creation realm. However, with the appearance of the Haotian mirror, the Taishu Taoist and the Taishu Temple had invested most of their energy and resources into the Haotian mirror. This had delayed the supreme yin-yang mirror's advancement. After that, the Taishu Taoist went to the Dead Sea with this Dharma treasure. Otherwise, if it had been left in the Taishu Temple and had not suffered a great disaster, it would probably have attained the creation realm by now. In the dark void, the round mirror that seemed to be the supreme yin-yang mirror beside the ethereal figure suddenly shattered, turning into streams of light and disappearing. However, under the protection of the ethereal figure's Dharma power, these streams of light were not destroyed in the Dead Sea. Instead, they seemed to be struggling to escape from the Dead Sea. Looking at the scene in front of him, Lin Feng understood. As expected, it's the same as Buddha, leaving clues about the Dead Sea for his descendants. But the Dead Sea is mysterious and unfathomable. These clues can only be scraps. Lin Feng thought, Golden Cicada knows quite a lot. The golden alms bowl of Buddhism has fallen into his hands, and the clues left behind by the Taishu temple were also detected by him. This old cicada has lived since ancient times. He really hasn't been idle. The Taishu temple must also know something about the supreme yin-yang mirror, but I wonder how much they have mastered. Lin Feng looked at Zhou Yunsong, who was protected by Yangqing's lunar pure water. He shook his head and laughed. Interesting, really interesting. As he was thinking, a light shadow flashed in front of him, and Great Saint Juyin reappeared in front of him. However, this time, it was only his demon soul that wandered outside, and he did not rush over. Previously, Golden Cicada had used the 9 Nether 10 Directions double manifestation realm to cause trouble, and the entire primordial demonic ape clan had lost some face. Great Saint Juyin would definitely go to the main peak of Spiritual Abyss Mountain to keep watch, lest Golden Cicada took advantage of him again. In such a sudden situation, even the cultivators of the heavenly demonic ape clan who stayed at the main peak of Spiritual Abyss Mountain could not say much. With such an important matter at hand, they could only ask Great Saint Juyin to make the decision. Other matters could be discussed after the Great Sage returned. At this moment, Great Saint Juyin could not cooperate with Lin Feng to capture Golden Cicada, but he still projected his demon soul doppelganger. His intention was quite intriguing. With such a thing happening, it was very likely that the Great Sage would return to Spiritual Abyss Mountain in advance, and Great Saint Juyin's request for Golden Cicada's flesh and blood would no longer be limited to his Juyin demonic ape clan, but from the perspective of the entire primordial demonic ape clan. When Great Saint Juyin's doppelganger saw Lin Feng, he cupped his fists and said, "Master of the Celestial Gate, please don't take offense." Lin Feng did not care much about this. "It's okay, it's up to you." He immediately took out the golden alms bowl again, ready to continue looking for Golden Cicada. Before he could cast a spell, his heart suddenly moved, and he turned his head to look at the sky. He saw a magnificent mystic light streak across the sky in a graceful arc. In an instant, it seemed to have crossed the endless void and landed in front of him. What appeared in front of Lin Feng was a monkey. It was not big, and when it stood up, it was about the same height as Lin Feng. It looked like an ordinary wild monkey in the mountains and forests, but its eyes were very bright. However, as soon as it appeared, it did not show any aura, but made Wang Lin, Shi Tianhao, and the others frown. Great Saint Juyin looked the monkey up and down in surprise. After the monkey stood still, its eyes swept around and finally fell on Lin Feng. It grinned and said, "Are you the master of the Celestial Gate?" Lin Feng looked at the monkey with interest. Although there was no demonic aura coming from it, it gave him a strange feeling. This feeling had not appeared since Lin Feng returned to the void. It had not appeared when he faced the Big Dipper Sword Venerable, the Celestial Heaven Sword, the Great Array of Shu Mountain, the Great Saint Juyin, and the Blue Sky Dragon King. It had not even happened when he faced Golden Cicada. After the Battle of Shu Mountain, the fleeting Hao Ian mirror had given Lin Feng a similar feeling. The feeling was clearer and stronger, but it disappeared in a flash and did not last. But now, looking at the monkey in front of him, Lin Feng suddenly had this feeling again. This was the feeling of alarm bells ringing in his heart. This interested Lin Feng. He nodded and said, "I am." Hearing this, the monkey grinned. "It's good that it's you. I don't care about the matter between you and Golden Cicada, but my junior brother is in your hands, right? Let him go immediately." Hearing this, Lin Feng's expression became strange for a moment, but it was fleeting and no one noticed. From the other party's words, he could easily guess that the monkey was referring to the Great Saint Jiuying, but Lin Feng looked the monkey up and down, then thought of the Buddhist doppelganger refined by the Great Saint Jiuying, the Great Saint Feng Tian who had escaped, and then thought of Golden Cicada. He was suddenly speechless. As his cultivation level grew and his status rose, Lin Feng had not felt this way for a long time. But at this moment, he did have the urge to look up at the sky speechlessly. Could it be that there will come a day when I get the wrong script? Lin Feng looked at the monkey and said earnestly, Wu Kong, you're being naughty again. Huh? Monkey stared blankly, looking at Lin Feng with a face full of confusion. What nonsense is this? Lin Feng laughed involuntarily. He shook his head and looked at the monkey again. Although your junior brother takes orders from Golden Cicada, it's only out of loyalty. He did not take the initiative to make an enemy out of me, so I never intended to take his life. However, you came here with empty words and ordered me to let him go. Who are you ordering? The monkey nodded and a smile appeared on its furry face. Empty words? What a joke. Even if you let my junior brother go, I'll still have to measure your strength and fight with you. Before he finished speaking, the monkey's figure flashed and he charged toward Lin Feng. In this charge, his power surged and his demonic aura soared into the sky, causing even Lin Feng to be surprised. This monkey was a great demon that had completely completed the first tribulation and reached the Dharma-ending realm. Moreover, judging from his supernatural powers, he should be extremely powerful in actual combat. Even Lin Feng found it strange that Golden Cicada had subdued this monkey as his disciple. It can't be the band-tightening curse, right? Lin Feng thought with some mischief. With this thought in mind, Lin Feng did not slow down at all. He straightened his palm like a blade and slashed through the void, activating the heavenly realm barrier. An invisible barrier blocked the monkey's path. Unexpectedly, the monkey's figure did not stop at all. It continued charging toward the space barrier in the void. However, in this process, its body suddenly changed. It did not become bigger or smaller, nor did it reveal its true form. Instead, the monkey transformed into a dragon in an instant. The head of an ox, the antlers of a deer, the eyes of a shrimp, the ears of an elephant, the neck of a snake, the claws of a phoenix, and the paws of a tiger. The dragon's might and auspicious clouds were all real. However, it did not have dragon scales. Instead, it was a white jade dragon that was almost transparent. Its huge body swayed as if it was wandering between the real and the fake. It was mysterious and mysterious, seemingly existing and non-existent, using the powerful, innate supernatural powers of the white jade dragon. The monkey transformed into a dragon and directly passed through the space barrier formed by Lin Feng's heavenly realm barrier. Once it passed through the space barrier, the white jade dragon instantly disappeared and reverted to its monkey form. It continued charging toward Lin Feng. Everyone present was dumbfounded. The great sage Zhu Yan's jaw almost dropped to the ground. 10,000 laws, inner ape. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He and the great sage Zhu Yan said almost at the same time, so it's the 10,000 laws, inner ape? Chapter 9:11. With the eyesight of Lin Feng and great Saint Zhu Yan, they were naturally able to tell that the monkey's transformation into a white jade dragon was not an illusion technique. In that instant, he was a living white jade dragon. Moreover, it was a white jade dragon whose strength had reached the Dharma-ending realm. After the dragon clan completed the first tribulation and reached the Dharma-ending realm, they were different from other demon clans. Whether it was the jade dragon, the yellow dragon, the flame dragon, or the white jade dragon, their bloodline would be purified, and they would transform into the most primitive and powerful primordial celestial dragon. In a sense, the dragon clan of this realm was the true dragon, the true pure-blooded primordial celestial dragon, also known as the primordial azure dragon. In other words, the white jade dragon of the Dharma-ending realm did not exist. Only this monkey, whose cultivation had reached the Dharma-ending realm, could transform himself into a white jade dragon of the Dharma-ending realm. Because this monkey was the one and only Dharma inner ape in the entire world. Its origin was a mystery, as if it had been nurtured by the heavens. One of its innate divine powers was to transform into other demons of the same realm as itself, and it could perfectly display the innate divine powers and Dharma spells of the demons it had transformed into. Although it wasn't that there was no limit to what kind of monster race he could transform into, the mysteriousness of it was really shocking. The Dharma inner ape had once caused havoc in the infinite wasteland during the Middle Era and made a name for himself. Even the divine land was alarmed, but he later disappeared and no one knew where he went. This monkey had great divine powers and fought against the heavens and the earth, giving the demons of the infinite wasteland a headache. Previously, Great Saint Lu Yuan of the 10 Demon Saints was a loyal fan of this monkey. He followed in the footsteps of his idol, hoping to recreate the monkey's former glory, but the commotion he caused was incomparable to that of the monkey. The Dharma inner ape had always been a loner, and even the other primordial demonic apes were helpless against him. Zhu Yan, the great sage, didn't know what to say when he saw the mental ape of all laws at this moment. If one were to ask him, his current mood was even worse than when Golden Cicada had activated the 9 Nether 10 Directions incarnation realm. He had no intention of adding another expert to the ape clan. During the Middle Era, even Ji Huang Xinyuan could only suppress the monkey with force, but he could not make the monkey listen to him obediently. On the contrary, the monkey wreaked havoc in the Spirit Abyss Mountain, as if it was wreaking havoc in Tianhuang mainland. It had no scruples at all. Lin Feng looked at the monkey. After recognizing its origins, he became interested. Interesting. He wasn't in a hurry now, and he didn't use any other spells either. With a light tap of his finger, the Two Realms' wonderful technique was activated. Even the monkey felt as if its body was being torn apart in an instant. The space it was in was divided by the axis of its body, as if it was going to stagger up and down. Nowadays, Lin Feng rarely used the Twin Realms Void technique against his enemies. However, this didn't mean that this technique had been eliminated. It was just that if he wanted to maximize the effects of his magical powers, he had to adapt to the local conditions. Be it human or demon cultivators, they started to come into contact with the mysteries of space from the moment they formed their Yuanying and demon infant. However, as their cultivation increased, their understanding of the great Tao of heaven and earth in this aspect would naturally become deeper. Lin Feng's attainments in the art of spatial transformation were among the best in the entire Tianyuan world. The Twin Realms Void technique that he was using now was naturally different from when he was in the Foundation Establishment and Golden Elixir period. There were very few humans or demons who could escape from his Twin Realms Void technique. Seeing this, the monkey grinned. Great, Celestial Gate Master. Are you testing me? I'm afraid you don't have the ability. As he spoke, his figure changed again. This time, he was still in the form of an ape, but he had a white head and red feet. His eyes were red and flashed with green light. His 4 fiery red limbs were propped up on the ground, like blazing flames. It was the form of the demonic ape Zhu Yan. Wang Lin, Shi Tianhao, and the others looked at the great sage Zhu Yan in unison. As expected, they saw the great sage Zhu Yan's pained expression. The Zhu Yan that the monkey had transformed into roared at the sky. Its 4 limbs trampled on the void, and in an instant, it had already broken free from Lin Feng's Twin Realms Void technique. Even the great sage Zhu Yan was shocked by its violent appearance. After all, what the monkey had transformed into was a Zhu Yan that was stronger than him in the Dharma-ending realm. Lin Feng had a smile on his face. He gently put his palms together, and the world between him and the monkey was completely shattered, turning into the endless flow of earth, water, fire, and wind. It was as if chaos had just been born. The earth, water, fire, and wind quickly calmed down, forming an illusory bubble of air. The bubble burst, and 2 streams of air, one turbid and one clear, floated up as the sky, and the other sank down as the earth. It was as if the creation of the world was reenacted. In the face of this majestic power, the monkey also cheered great. As he shouted, his figure changed from the demonic ape Zhu Yan again. His body flashed with a faint golden glow like a metallic luster, but also like the starlight in the sky. He was snow white, and there was a huge king character on his forehead. He had turned into a pure-blooded white tiger. The white tiger was in charge of killing. It looked down on the world and killed all living beings. Just the violent, cold, and merciless killing intent alone was enough to suffocate people. Other than Xianmen Tianzong, the person with the strongest killing intent in the Divine Land was the current sect leader of the Reincarnation sect, the Azura Path sect leader, Imo Shaluo. The magic treasure with the strongest killing intent was the Azura battle saber that Lin Feng had seized when Shi Tianfeng attacked Yujing Mountain. However, in front of the white tiger that the monkey had transformed into, Imo Shaluo was like a child who had yet to become an adult, and the Azura battle saber was like a toy. Lin Feng looked at the white tiger and could even vaguely sense an aura that was similar to his heaven vanquishing sword. It was a brutal intent of slaughtering everything. Not only did it want to slaughter all living beings, but it also wanted to slaughter the heavens and earth. It was as if the creation of the heavens and earth was also a living thing, and it had to be destroyed. A white tiger that was at the beginning of the tribulation had escaped. Unexpectedly, in the blink of an eye, it encountered an even stronger white tiger that had entered the Dharma-ending realm. The white tiger that the monkey had transformed into let out a deafening roar. The sky above its head split open, and countless starlight flashed. At the next moment, the starlight turned into meteors, smashing down on Lin Feng's head. The innate ability of the pure-blooded white tiger starfall. The mixed-blooded white tiger could also use this move, but its power was far inferior to that of the pure-blooded white tiger. The meteors that were smashing down on Lin Feng were not directed from afar, nor were they transformed by the power of the law. Instead, they were real stars that had fallen from the sky. The white tiger in the Dharma-ending realm let out an enraged roar, causing the stars to fall. This was not the end. At the same time that the white tiger that the monkey had transformed into was using white tiger starfall, it also activated another innate ability of the white tiger race, Nirvana Death Star. The starlight of the meteors that were smashing down on Lin Feng rapidly dimmed. All the energy gathered towards the center, turning into black spheres that came crashing down like a torrential downpour. The killing intent and nirvana intent that had completely condensed into a material state seemed to be able to penetrate and destroy a world. It directly caused the myriad phenomena that Lin Feng's primordial heaven splitting technique had transformed into to be riddled with holes. The primordial heaven splitting technique originally had the ability to transform endlessly. However, after being hit by the Death Star rain, it was unable to continue transforming. It was as if a life had been pierced through by 10,000 arrows. After breaking through Lin Feng's primordial heaven splitting technique, the monkey had already rushed in front of Lin Feng. It changed back to its original form and stretched out its claws, grabbing at Lin Feng. It said with a smile, "Let me take a look at that sword of yours." Before it finished its words, the monkey suddenly felt a chill in its heart. Its fur stood up as if a great danger was about to befall it. "The abilities that you've displayed now aren't enough to make me use my sword." Lin Feng let out a light laugh. His right hand's index and middle fingers were placed together like a sword. A chaotic and blurry sword light flashed on his fingertip. It was none other than heaven annihilating sword Qi. It had a ferocious and austere killing intent. It was even stronger than the monkey's divine ability that the white tiger had transformed into. Aiming at the monkey that was just inches away from him, Lin Feng stabbed out with his sword. The monkey bared its teeth and its body changed, turning into an extremely huge azure rock. It spread out its wings, covering up the skies. With a flap of its wings, a powerful force burst forth, dodging Lin Feng's heaven-annihilating sword Qi. It had actually taken on the form of a rock. After dodging the initial sword attack with the explosive power of a rock, the azure rock flapped its wings and transformed into a golden rock. Golden light flashed in its cold eyes, and its body turned into a beam of golden light. It displayed the golden rock's extreme speed and instantly escaped far away, completely breaking free from Lin Feng's heaven-annihilating sword Qi. There was no delay in the monkey's transformation. The power of a rock and the speed of a great golden-winged rock were fully unleashed. When Lin Feng saw this, he nodded and praised. Not bad, very good. Under the heaven-annihilating sword cheese annihilation sword intent, the target would be locked down completely. It was extremely difficult to dodge, and the opponent could only block or clash head-on. This was the first time that someone had completely evaded it. If the monkey had only transformed into a rock, it wouldn't have been able to dodge the follow-up attacks after the eruption. If it had only transformed into a great golden-winged rock, it wouldn't have been able to fight off the heaven-annihilating sword cheese lockdown. There are all kinds of techniques in the world. Under normal circumstances, there would always be other techniques that could counter a certain technique. Not only did this monkey know the mystical arts of many demon races, but it was also able to accurately find the most suitable technique to use at the moment. Therefore, it was almost as if it was the only one that countered others, but it was very difficult for others to counter it. All kinds of techniques converged into one body, yet could also break through all kinds of techniques in the world. It was ever-changing, and hence, it was known as the myriad techniques heart monkey. The extreme speed golden light was so fast that it was almost impossible to discern it. After making a turn in the distant sky, it returned to Lin Feng and turned back into the monkey's form. It looked at Lin Feng. Ever since they met, its eyes lit up like never before, and its excitement could not be expressed in words. It even scratched its ears and cheeks, grinned, and said, "Awesome, awesome. But why didn't you use those immortal mountain treasures? Could it be that you saw that I didn't reveal my true form?" It was only at this point that the spectators came to a realization. It turned out that the monkey and Lin Feng had been fighting until now. Although Lin Feng had only been relying on his own mystical arts, the monkey had not revealed his true form. The monkey looked at Lin Feng and suddenly tilted its head, pouring out a small rod from one of its ears. Seeing this action, Lin Feng felt speechless again. Then he saw the monkey catch the small rod with its palm. With a slight shake, the small rod instantly turned into a thick metal rod, exuding an astonishing malevolent aura. Throughout the history of the demon race, I'm probably the only one who uses weapons. The monkey tossed the metal rod onto the ground. The metal rod instantly enlarged, standing upright on the ground like a pillar that supported the heavens. It looked at Lin Feng and smiled. "All right, since that's the case, I'll compete with you. Let's see if you'll use those immortal mountain treasures first, or if I'll use my true form and this divine metal rod first." With that, the monkey charged toward Lin Feng once again. Lin Feng looked at the monkey, shook his head, and laughed. "Interesting. It's been a long time since I've felt this interesting." Chapter 9:12. Shi Tianhao, Wang Lin, and the others were quite knowledgeable now. Looking at the iron rod standing on the ground and sensing its aura, they immediately recognized it. The wishful divine iron? So it was this monkey who took the wishful divine iron mine. It was said that there were 6 kinds of rare metals in the world, but in fact, before the Middle Era, there were 7 kinds of rare metals. One of them was called the wishful divine iron. As a metal, it could change at will and was quite mysterious. What was unique about it was that there was only one mine in the world, and the reserves were huge. The quality was excellent, and it was almost endless. But in the Middle Era, the whole mine disappeared mysteriously, so that the wishful divine iron was completely extinct in the Tianyuan world. Unexpectedly, it was this monkey who took it. His iron rod was transformed from the whole wishful divine iron mine, which was also the condensation of all the mineral deposits in the Tianyuan world. Looking at the iron rod, Zhu Yan's expression was unprecedentedly solemn. I've only heard rumors about the Dharma ape before, but it's only today that I've truly seen how powerful he is. He is the second strongest expert of the current generation of the ape race, only one step away from completely completing the first tribulation. But looking at the battle between the monkey and Lin Feng just now, just based on the strength that the monkey has already displayed, even if he manifests his true form, he may not be a match for it. Even Tong Tian is no match for him. If we really count, This monkey is the strongest expert of the ape clan. Looking at the whole Tianhuang continent, I'm afraid that even the phoenix in the Parasol Forest is no match for him. I don't know how strong Tian Mei is after achieving the Dharma ending tribulation, but I don't have much confidence. Golden Cicada can only compete with him in the number of Dharma ending tribulation he can withstand. As for the two dragons in the mysterious sea, even Kunlun Dragon King may not be able to handle them. I'm afraid only Yuan Dragon King can fight him. At this moment, the void was torn open and Great Sage Dragon Seal arrived. When he saw Lin Feng standing off against the monkey, Great Sage Dragon Seal snorted proudly and said, "Now you know how powerful my eldest senior brother is, right?" Great Saint Feng Tian was suddenly stunned. This was because he saw the monkey transform into a strange beast with an extremely strange appearance. It wasn't very big, only about 1 or 2 meters long. From afar, it looked like a large dog. This strange beast had horns like a deer, a camel's head, ears like a cat's, eyes like a shrimp's, mouth like a donkey's, hair like a lion's, neck like a snake's, abdomen like a crab's, scales like a carp's, front claws like an eagle's, and back claws like a tiger's. It arched its waist and raised its buttocks, looking majestic and imposing. Its front legs were straight, and its hind legs were spread apart. It was a real hoe. The true hoe is also known as the sky-gazing hoe. The mixed-blood sky-gazing roars were known as hoe, while the pure-blood sky-gazing roars were known as the true hoe. They were originally one of the strongest races in Tianhuang mainland. Ever since they entered the present era, until the war between the two worlds 4,600 years ago, the demon world of Tianhuang vast land had always been the world of the Yudu race. Yuwang's celestial sea ruled over the 8 desolate lands of the demon world. During this period of time, there was only one great demon that had a substantial impact on the position of the sacred emperor of the demon race in Yuwang's celestial sea, and that was the former chief of the true Ho race, Bolin Wangtian. Bolin Wangtian had led the true Ho race to challenge Yudu and the Yudu race of the heavenly seas, but they had lost in the end. Bolin Wangtian had been killed by Yudu of the heavenly seas, and a large number of strong practitioners of the true Ho race had also fallen. From then on, the true Ho race had declined. Now, pure-blood true Ho were extremely rare, and only mixed-blood Ho were commonly seen. Not to mention the true Ho of the last days realm. Even true Ho that had formed an indestructible demon soul was almost nowhere to be seen. Only the monkey's art of transformation had transformed into a true Ho of the last days realm, allowing the former glory of the strong races of Tianhuang mainland to reappear in the world. However, Great Sage Sealing Heaven was stunned. That was because the monkey had transformed into a true Ho, which meant that the opponent was tough and extremely difficult to deal with. The monkey didn't reveal his true form and didn't use his divine metal, but he still had to use his full strength. Great Sage Sealing Heaven could see clearly that Lin Feng was only using his own divine arts and magic power to fight the monkey. He didn't use any external treasures. The true Ho that the monkey had transformed into stared at Lin Feng and suddenly let out a furious roar toward the sky. Just the power of this roar seemed to make the entire sky seem like it was going to collapse, and the world that everyone was in seemed like it was going to be destroyed together. The void around Lin Feng kept on shattering, and everything seemed to return to chaos. In this chaos, there were faint runes and patterns that shone with boundless brilliance surging, forming many leaping flames together. These flames weren't real flames, nor were they the blazing firepower of the 7 great true fires. Instead, they were illusory flames. However, wherever these illusory flames passed by, the void chaos actually seemed to be burned until it solidified into something solid. Lin Feng's heaven punishment sword Qi stabbed out, breaking through the chaos and wiping out the layers of changes. However, the illusory flames were extremely cunning. They avoided Lin Feng's sharp edge, and instead turned the mass of chaotic air that had been burned into something solid to face the heaven punishment sword Qi continuously whittling away at Lin Feng's sword chi. Seeing this, Lin Feng's gaze narrowed slightly, seeing through the profoundness within. At the beginning of creation, something was born out of nothing. Chaos was split open, and the two were established. After that, it turned into the four symbols: earth, water, fire, wind, and storm. When the four symbols were stable, the heavens and earth would be split apart, and all living things would be born. However, the chaos that had been burned by the illusory flames seemed to have completely solidified, unable to be broken. Naturally, there was no way for creation to be created. At the very beginning, it was strangled, as if a newborn baby had died in the womb. As the mass of chaotic air that was solidified kept whittling away at Lin Feng's heaven punishment sword chi, it was also shrinking and squeezing toward Lin Feng. If he were to be squeezed, Lin Feng's various divine arts would no longer be able to be circulated, and he would be at the mercy of the other party. As Lin Feng's eyes opened and closed, divine light burst forth from his body. Black and white light flashed alternately, turning into light and clouds that filled the sky, supporting Lin Feng. It was as if there was a black and white sea of light that filled the universe. When the black and white light came into contact with the God-sealing illusory fire divine art that the monkey had taken on, it immediately isolated the illusory flames. Countless mysterious runes and diagrams filled the void space, turning into a vast light fog. It was as if there were countless gods and Buddhas chanting together in the light fog. Lin Feng's heaven punishment sword chi was released once again. Divine light that was half black and half white flashed on the sword light, splitting the chaos and illusory flames apart with an irresistible force. Then, as Lin Feng's right fingertip sent out sword light, he pointed out toward the monkey with his left hand. An illusory, blurry, and hazy cosmic light of the extreme universe encompassed toward the monkey. The monkey's true hoe tumbled in midair and changed its appearance once again. It turned into a strange crimson dragon with a human face and a snake's body. Its body was over 1,000 kilometers long. When this strange dragon opened its eyes, the world was bright and it was day. When it closed its eyes, the world was dark and it was night. A powerful true intent of time spread out, successfully dispelling Lin Feng's cosmic light of the extreme universe. Seeing this, Lin Feng was overjoyed instead of shocked. Good, as expected of the myriad law's heart monkey. You can even transform into the candle dragon. The candle dragon was also known as the Candeline. It was a branch race of the primordial heavenly dragons. Their eyes were bright, and they comprehended the circulation of the sun and moon. They saw it as day, slept as night, blew as winter, and exhaled as summer. However, this race was already hard to see in the modern epoch. Even the dragon race's habitat, the mystic sea, could no longer be seen. Many demon race divine arts that were almost extinct reappeared on the monkey today. Lin Feng also felt that it was a feast for his eyes. Just like the white jade dragon race, the candle dragon race had never produced a candle dragon in the Dharma ending realm. However, it had now appeared on the monkey's body. After the candle dragon that the monkey transformed into broke Lin Feng's cosmic light of the extreme universe. It turned again and transformed into the true hoe. It used the God-sealing void fire divine art again and attacked Lin Feng. He transformed into a myriad of forms and skillfully executed the top divine abilities and techniques of the various demon clans. But when he transformed, he didn't feel sluggish in the slightest, and he moved at will without the slightest delay. His techniques were executed frequently, and it was truly as if he possessed a myriad of techniques by himself, causing others to gasp in amazement. However, Lin Feng's heaven-punishing sword chi, creation divine light, and cosmic light of the extreme universe opened up a path together. Even if the monkey transformed into the true hoe, it could no longer trap him. Ever since Lin Feng returned to the Void Realm, among the opponents that he had personally fought, this monkey was the strongest in terms of divine arts and magic power. Without revealing its true form and without using its divine metal, facing the combination of sword Venerable Tiangang and the celestial heaven sword. The outcome would only be determined after the fight. If this monkey could advance one step further, it would probably become another Jihuang Xinyuan. Lin Feng also faintly felt a sense of contentment. This battle actually didn't have any conflicts of interest, didn't have any schemes, didn't have any grievances or entanglements so serious that they had to fight to the death. It was just the two of them displaying their strengths, exhausting the variations of their abilities, and fighting to see who was stronger. It's interesting to have a battle like this once in a while. Lin Feng shook his head and smiled. The monkey in front of him was extremely strong in fights of magical powers. Competing with it, Lin Feng was able to use his various techniques more and more freely. The seven-colored halo around his body flashed, and he used the mysterious heavenly escape. He suddenly changed from defense to offense, and he had already killed his way to the monkey. Although he did not use the Dharma-ending calamity to attack, the monkey's eyes still flashed, and he stared at Lin Feng. Your divine art can avoid the Dharma-ending calamity. Chapter 9:13. Lin Feng looked at the extreme spirit divine monkey in front of him and was instantly amused. Today's battle wasn't fought for nothing. The monkey grinned and suddenly leaped forward, appearing in front of Lin Feng. It opened its gigantic palm and clawed at Lin Feng's head. As he stretched out his claw, the snow-white monkey fur on his huge, fluffy white hand all stood up at this moment. They were like thick ropes, and the over 10 meters long monkey fur all stood up straight, as if they were as hard as refined gold or divine iron. Large amounts of demonic aura spewed out from its palm. It was as black as ink and fused with the snow-white monkey fur, turning it into a blurry gray. The monkey's claw became increasingly huge after this action. Furthermore, it was constantly growing in size, as though it was about to grab the sun and moon with its fingers and grasp the world. The monkey's claw clawed at Lin Feng. It had yet to clench its fist tightly, but with just a pinch, the world Lin Feng was in was completely shattered and destroyed. When Lin Feng saw this, his expression changed slightly. This is Jihuang Xinyuan's Great Spirit King hand, right? There were many races in the Fey world, and each had their own strengths. Their divine powers and dermic formulations had their own unique aspects. However, in terms of pure physical strength, the primordial sky dragon, pure-blooded black tortoise, and the extinct primordial divine elephant and heaven-carrying ant were the top four races. Other than that, the Kuan Peng could transform into a Peng form. There is also the heavenly demonic ape race of the primordial demonic ape race. Their physical strength was extremely powerful as well. Great demons of the declining age could use their physical strength to tear apart the heavens with a single hand. They were able to battle the dragon, elephant, turtle, and ant races. Among the primordial demonic apes, the supreme spirit divine monkeys weren't known for their physical strength. However, after coming out of the extreme Emperor's divine abyss, they spent a lot of time and effort researching it. They created an acquired divine ability for the supreme spirit divine monkeys called the Grand Spirit King's Hand. It used demonic energy to nourish the physical body, allowing them to temporarily gain immense physical strength for a short period of time. With this technique, the extreme agility divine monkey was able to fight a primordial sky dragon of the same realm with his physical strength without being at a disadvantage. As Jihuang Xinyuan and the divine monkeys continued to study and refine their bloodlines, this mystique was transformed from Houtian to Xiantian, becoming a new racial talent of the divine monkeys. It was engraved in the true spirit of the divine monkeys and was passed down from generation to generation. When the divine monkeys reached a certain level of cultivation, most of them would be able to learn this powerful mystique. And now, after the monkey had transformed into the extreme spiritual divine monkey, he was able to unleash this great mystique as well. If he didn't reveal his true form, he wouldn't be able to unleash the strongest aspect of this mystique. But even so, it still had the power to grab the entire world. When Lin Feng saw this, he stretched out his left hand, opened his palm, and grabbed at the monkey's hand. A gigantic palm that flickered with layers of radiance appeared out of thin air. There were countless talisman patterns on the palm, forming one spirit design after another. They rose and fell, connecting into one, and finally fusing into a gigantic array diagram that was engraved on the gigantic hand. Life and death, void and reality, heaven and earth, eternity and instant, yin and yang, light and darkness. The 6 transformations were unleashed simultaneously. The 6 paths of life and death were born together, as though they were constructing a brand new world. 6 transformations, 3 laws, 2 extremities, immeasurable edict. Lin Feng said calmly as boundless mighty force erupted, clashing with the monkey's great agility, king palm in the void. In that instant, it was as though 2 worlds had collided, causing the entire void to distort in an unsightly manner. Oh! The monkey's eyes lit up when he saw this scene. He exerted more strength in his hand as the violent force threatened to crush the world. Lin Feng's expression was indifferent and did not change at all. The gigantic radiant hand formed by the yin and yang birth and death dharma was coated with a layer of black and white divine light. It did not yield an inch as it withstood the monkey's great agility king palm. At the same time, Lin Feng's right hand struck out with another heaven-punishing sword chi. The monkey bared its teeth, and its figure instantly moved back and forth between the true Ho and the extreme agility divine monkey. The god-sealing void fire condensed nothingness and chaos to wear down Lin Feng's heaven-punishing sword chi. On the other side, the extreme agility divine monkey's great agility king palm did not yield an inch as it clashed head-on with Lin Feng. Right now, it was fighting against Lin Feng with its true Ho. It was also displaying all of its abilities in its current state. When the spectators saw this scene, they were slightly shocked. I originally thought that he was only switching between different demon races and could at most transform as he pleased. But now, it seems like his transformation speed is so fast. It's as though the innate mystical abilities of different races are unleashed at the same time. This can really be said to be a multitude of techniques. However, no matter how fast the monkey's transformation speed was, it was still at a slight disadvantage when it switched between the true Ho and the extreme agility divine monkey. Against Lin Feng, who had not relaxed in the slightest, it was still at a slight disadvantage. It was fine once or twice, but after a few more times, Lin Feng's art of yin and yang life and death, which initially resulted in him being at a slight disadvantage because he was distracted by the heaven-punishing sword chi on the other side, gradually turned the situation around and even developed into an advantage. Seeing this, the monkey no longer fought head-on with Lin Feng. It transformed into the extreme agility divine monkey and escaped from Lin Feng's attack range with a single extreme agility divine monkey. It regrouped and pounced forward once again. Both sides had their own mystical abilities and techniques, fighting until the eyes were dazzled. The heavens shook and the earth cracked. They fought from Tianhuang mainland to the endless void, and from the endless void back to Tianhuang mainland, going back and forth countless times. One attacked while the other defended. One advanced while the other retreated. Although it seemed to be a flashy and ever-changing battle, only experts of the same level as them could tell that no matter who it was, any mistake in their response would result in serious injuries at the very least. They kept looking for the other party's flaws and loopholes. Once they found one, it was possible to decide the outcome of the battle with a single blow. The great Saint Zhu Yin could barely watch a battle of this level, but under Lin Feng's tutelage, even Wang Lin and Shi Tianhao, they found it extremely difficult to watch the battle. Many subtle changes, and the schemes of both sides needed to stop and think quietly before they could understand it. However, in such a battle, no one dared to be distracted. Otherwise, the situation would change in an instant, and it was very likely that they would miss out on important things. They could only watch carefully and memorize everything, and then slowly ponder over it afterward. The great Saint Feng Tian looked at the two sides fighting in the sky, and his eyes also revealed anxiety. He was so anxious that he kept humming, "Brother Monkey, oh brother Monkey, why are you competing with him? Hurry up and reveal your true form. You might as well kill him with a single blow." Even if you don't reveal your true form, and don't use your godly metal, you should at least summon those doppelgangers of yours. Doppelgangers are also refined from your own magic power, so they can also be considered a kind of mystical power transformation. Upon hearing this, Shi Tianhao gave him a sidelong glance and said, "You're talking as if only that monkey has cultivated clones." The great Saint Feng Tian snorted and said, "What do you know, kid? My brother Monkey plucked a strand of hair, and he can create thousands of clones, which is comparable to countless masters." He paused and glanced at Lin Feng, who was locked in a fierce battle with the monkey. After swallowing, he went on to say, "However, it's impossible to intervene in the battle before us. The aftermath will be directly swept away. But Brother Monkey has 2 strands of hair, and he can create 2 clones with the same magical power and magic power as his original body. Apart from being unable to reveal his true form, even this ever-changing magical power is the same. In the battle now, Brother Monkey won't reveal his true form, but with those 2 clones, it's equivalent to splitting into 3. Let's see how that Mystic Gates leader is going to block them." Luo Qingwu, who was standing behind Shi Tianhao, burst out laughing when she heard this. The great Saint Feng Tian glared at her, but Luo Qingwu was not afraid of him. Smiling, she said, "You've really sold out your brother Monkey's background." The great Saint Feng Tian was stunned, and he sneaked a glance at the monkey, who was in the midst of an intense battle. His neck shrank back, and he snorted for a long time before saying fiercely, "Just as Brother Monkey said, those who are capable will be capable no matter where they go. So what if I let you guys know?" Although he said this, the great Saint Feng Tian felt a little guilty no matter how he looked at it. In the void, Lin Feng and the monkey continued to fight, and his understanding of the monkey's magical power was getting deeper and deeper. The monkey's calculation ability was very strong. After transforming into the divine spiritual monkey, he also had the divine spiritual monkey's heavenly eyes and heavenly ears. His eyes could see the yin and yang, and his ears could hear the changes of all things. His ability to see through the changes of Lin Feng's magical power was very strong, and he was able to find flaws everywhere and restrain them. The monkey's magical power was mainly focused on the divine spiritual monkey, the true Ho, the golden-winged roc, the Kuanpeng, the white jade dragon, the torch dragon, and the other great demons. It was not that he did not know the magical power of the other demons, but the combination of these few great demons' magical powers was the most effective against Lin Feng. In the process of fighting, he also revealed the magical powers of the Fae, the jade dragon, the swan and eye, the peacock, and the whirling tortoise, but most of them disappeared in a flash. The monkey was fighting to his heart's content, and so was Lin Feng. Seeing that he was unable to win after a long time, the monkey became a little impatient. He snorted and changed back to his original form. He plucked 2 strands of hair from the back of his neck and held them in his palm, blowing at Lin Feng. The 2 strands of hair grew in the wind, and they were about to transform into 2 figures that were identical to the monkey. Lin Feng let out a long laugh. "Just obediently take it back for me." Amidst his laughter, the Taiji pattern on Lin Feng's forehead spun incessantly. In the depths of the Taiji pattern, in a place that the outside world could not see, an extremely strange talisman pattern suddenly appeared. This talisman pattern was completely different from any talisman patterns cultivated by human cultivators. This was a true spirit divine pattern that could only be cultivated by demon cultivators who had reached the primordial true spirit stage. The moment the true spirit divine pattern appeared, it was like the 2 extremes of creation, the yin and yang sides of Lin Feng's void return level physique. They faced each other and were closely connected, forming a profound resonance. However, they were not fused and were independent of each other. Lin Feng reached out both of his palms and put them together abruptly. The appearance of the world suddenly changed. The monkey was stunned. He suddenly had a strange feeling. That feeling was so real, yet so absurd. With the monkey's current cultivation, it was almost impossible for it to confuse his mind. Even if it was an extreme change between reality and illusion, he could turn into the Chi or the nine-tailed heavenly fox to resolve it. However, he was still unable to see through or comprehend everything that was happening before him. At this moment, the monkey's divine senses sensed that the great thousand worlds that had been split up since the primordial era, the vast Tianhuang land and the divine land, seemed to be merging together once again, becoming one. The monkey wanted to transform into the extreme spiritual divine monkey and use the extreme spiritual heaven-soaring art to escape. However, he discovered that the moment he transformed into the form of the blue-eyed white monkey, he immediately reverted back to his original form. That power that seemed even more terrifying than splitting up the world locked the monkey tightly in the center. His two clones were forcefully forced back to their original forms by this extremely profound and domineering power that could reverse the universe. They returned to his body and were locked together in this seemingly real yet absurd world with him. After Lin Feng reached the void return level, he had comprehended a great divine ability from the Yin and Yang origin true scripture, the Yin and Yang origin wondrous realm. The monkey struggled with all his might, but was unable to break free. Even his ability to transform was locked. He raised his head and saw Lin Feng's palms close together, also looking at him with a smile. "You monkey, you really have good skills. You also made me feel like I've widened my horizons." Chapter 9:14. The monkey was restricted by Lin Feng's Yin and Yang return to origin mystic art, unable to move. The clone form from its hair could not appear. Its myriad transformation mystic art was also locked down, unable to be used. The world in front of it kept pressing down, continuously weakening its demonic power. Good. What a great mystic gate master. The monkey bared its teeth and blinked its eyes, shining brightly. Rays of light surged from its body, and its body, which was the same size as a normal person, suddenly expanded. Terrifying and exuberant blood energy instantly filled the void. Its ferocious and violent face let out the most primitive and wild roar. Its sharp fangs were bared, and its demonic aura soared into the sky. The powerful blood energy and demonic power collided, shattering the world with every move. This was the strongest physical strength that Lin Feng had witnessed since coming to the Tianyuan Great World. It even contained an indestructible and indestructible feeling. In the past, he had seen other people's Dharma spells and mystic arts that contained a similar concept, but none of them gave off such a strong feeling as the monkey before him. Lin Feng had only seen such an indestructible concept in the immortal Dragon City, a creation Dharma treasure. Compared to the immortal Dragon City's majestic and heavy power, the monkey before him was even more domineering and wild. Its indestructible concept contained an extremely obvious offensive and oppressive force. This was another innate mystic ability of the myriad law's inner monkey other than the myriad transformation mystic art. It was precisely because of this mystic art that even though Golden Cicada had restrained the monkey with the band-tightening spell, he could not easily kill it completely. In terms of pure strength, it might be slightly inferior to the likes of the dragon, elephant, tortoise, ant, but in terms of toughness, endurance, and defense, it surpassed them. However, in order to use this mystic art, the myriad law's inner monkey had to reveal its true form. Although it was not a true world splitting like in the last years of the primordial epoch, the monkey now seemed to have the ability to tear the world apart. With a wild roar, it forcefully broke through the world formed by Lin Feng's Yin and Yang return to origin mystic art realm and leaped out. Lin Feng did not continue attacking. Instead, he looked at the monkey's true form with interest. Slowly, he nodded. Indeed extraordinary. If the myriad law's inner monkey relies on his fearlessness, then this indestructible body is the foundation of his survival. The monkey didn't take advantage of the situation to counterattack. After jumping out of the yin and yang, returning to origin magical realm, it concealed its true form and changed back to the appearance of an ordinary wild monkey that was the size of a human. However, its furry face obviously revealed an unhappy expression. His pair of eyes looked Lin Feng up and down. His gaze was filled with admiration, dissatisfaction, and even more so, a raging battle intent. But in the end, he still shook his head. I used my true form first. In this battle, I lost a move. Master of the celestial sect of wonders, you are a capable person. Please do not harm my junior brother's life. The monkey waved its hand, and the godly metal that was standing on the ground, like a pillar supporting the heavens, flew up. It changed its shape casually, turning into a small black dot and landing on a monkey's palm. The monkey then kept in its ear. With a flip, it landed next to Great Sage Tianfeng, who was at a loss. It patted the fire pig's head lightly. Idiot, let's go. Great Sage Tianfeng was in slight disbelief and looked at Lin Feng with fear. He gulped and did not dare to make a sound, leaving with the monkey obediently. Lin Feng placed his hands behind his back and watched the monkey leave with a calm expression. Wang Lin, Shi Tianhao, and the others looked at him with slight surprise. Master, Lin Feng's gaze swept across the surroundings and said calmly, Everyone, you should have seen enough of the show, right? His magic power shook the void space, and the space in all directions split open. Those who had been hidden in void space earlier could no longer hide themselves. The monkey and Great Sage Tianfeng left in the east. Other than the east, images appeared in the void space in the north, south, and west. In the dark void space in the north stood a huge light figure. It was a great rock, with feathers all over its body shining gold. There were 3 strands of black feathers on its forehead. It was a clone formed by the golden rock Great Sage's demon power projection. This clone was connected to the golden rock Great Sage's mind. With a single thought, the golden rock Great Sage could immediately burn this clone and come here with his true self. However, at this moment, the golden rock Great Sage clearly had no such intention. He appeared because of the fluctuations of Lin Feng's magic power. He did not say a word, but his black gold eyes moved between Lin Feng and the monkey in the east. The demonic cold light in his black gold eyes kept flashing, showing that he was not calm at the moment. In the sky to the south, opposite the golden rock Great Sage, there was also an illusory light figure. It seemed to have condensed into a human figure, but there seemed to be heavy fog shrouding this figure, making it difficult to see its face clearly. However, the demonic power fluctuations revealed its identity. It was a doppelganger formed by the heavenly enchantress's demonic power projection. Its nature was similar to that of the Golden Rock Sage's doppelganger. As long as the heavenly enchantress wanted to, she could immediately replace the doppelganger with herself. However, she was not interested in doing so. If Lin Feng had used Jade Jing Mountain, the heaven-crushing sword, and other treasures, and the monkey had used his true self and the divine metal, she might have considered coming here with her true self if both sides went all out in a fight to the death. However, whether it was Lin Feng or the monkey, although they had fought fiercely and each used their own magic power, they had always kept some emergency measures in reserve. Both of them were very strong, and under such circumstances, the enchantress naturally had no interest in getting involved. The monkey was combative and unyielding, but he was not stupid. Otherwise, Golden Cicada could always use Feng Yi, Jiuing, and the others to lure him into a trap and use him as a tool. How could the monkey, who hated Golden Cicada deeply, tolerate this? The enchantress looked at Lin Feng, his voice low and hoarse. He smiled and said, Don't be anxious, master of the celestial sect. The Kunlun Dragon King has completely given up on Taiwan Mountain and is rushing here. I believe you will see him soon. If we can't wait for the Kunlun Dragon King, isn't the Great Sage right in front of us? Unlike the Enchantress and the Golden Rock Great Sage, who were both projections of demonic power, there was a huge figure in the western sky at this moment. It was a real big demon. It was a giant black ape with scarlet eyes. It did not look very imposing, but its powerful demonic power seemed to have the power to pierce through the sky and the earth. It was a Dharma-ending realm demonic ape, the current leader of the primordial demonic ape clan, the Great Sage. Even Zhu Yin, the Great Saint, looked at him in surprise. The fact that the all-reaching saint could come back so quickly meant that he had received the news earlier than Zhu Yin, the Great Saint, and the other heavenly demonic apes had reported about Golden Cicada. Then he rushed back at once, even faster than the Kunlun Dragon King of the Dragon Tribe. Discounting the monkey who came and went as he pleased, this demon was the strongest among the primordial demonic apes. At the same time, he was also one of the top big demons in the vast land of Infinite Wasteland. In particular, they were now in the Spirit Abyss Mountains, the ancestral land of the apes. Compared to the Great Sage Zhu Yin, only the Great Sage could fully control and activate the powerful power here. Even though he can't be sure, but Lin Feng can vaguely feel that just relying on himself, the omnipotent Great Sage is most likely not the monkey's match. But if he completely activates the power of the Spirit Abyss Mountain, then it will probably be the monkey who seriously considers how he can escape unscathed. After all, the primordial demonic ape clan was one of the few strong clans in the vast land of Infinite Wasteland. It had even produced a peerless big demon like Ji Huang Xinyuan. Although it was no longer as glorious as it was in the past, the power of its ancestral land was still vaguely above the Dharma-ending realm. There were many demon experts in the vast land of Infinite Wasteland. If they fought in the Spirit Abyss Mountains, the Great Sage was almost invincible. He had a huge home advantage. The Great Sage looked very calm and did not show any signs of violence. He looked at Lin Feng silently and said, "I heard from Zhuri that you have a way to find Golden Cicada." Lin Feng said indifferently, "He has a way to borrow some power from the ancestral land of the apes. That's why he is dealing with me here. But now that the Great Sage Zhu Yin is guarding the main peak of the Spirit Abyss Mountains, and you have returned, I'm afraid that Golden Cicada will not stay in the Spirit Abyss Mountains anymore. I will scrape him out. In the process, you can do whatever you want to do." Out of the range of the Spirit Abyss Mountains, the Great Sage's strength naturally decreased significantly. The Great Sage grinned carelessly, revealing his sharp fangs. "I rushed back for Golden Cicada." Lin Feng nodded and looked at the Enchantress and the Golden Rock Sage. "If the Kuan Dragon King wants to come, that's his business. I will be waiting for him at any time. What about the two of you?" The Enchantress let out a low laugh. "We will meet again. But the Taishu Temple really has to thank sect leader Lin this time." Her doppelganger gradually disappeared. On the other side, the Golden Rock Sage did not say a word. His doppelganger also disappeared on the spot. In the vast land of Infinite Wasteland, far away, the Enchantress stood calmly on a hill while Long Yi stood behind her. "Yi, have you ever thought that the master of the celestial sect that you met once in the past would be such an earth-shattering figure?" the Enchantress said with a chuckle. Long Yi blinked her eyes. "Master, you always have to tease your disciple with this matter." The Enchantress chuckled and did not speak. After thinking for a while, Long Yi asked, "Master, if we relied on the Spirit Abyss Mountain just now, and you, Golden Rock, and Grandmaster Tongtian work together, is it possible?" "It's possible, but it's not guaranteed to succeed, unless someone is willing to die with us," the Enchantress said calmly. "So, whether it's me, Golden Rock, or Grandmaster Tongtian, no one will choose to do this. It's like knowing that as long as someone challenges the Hao Ian mirror head-on, it can further worsen its injuries and delay its recovery. But no one will take the initiative to stand out and be that person. The thing in Golden Rock's hand can only be used once, but no one wants to be the first to deal with him. It's the same logic." The Enchantress sighed. "With the strength that the master of the celestial sect has displayed, unless he enters the Xian Sea of his own accord, the price to kill him is too high. It's so high that no one can bear it. It's so high that every force in the divine land, including the Taishu temple, is eager for us to kill him. Chapter 9:15. A smile seemed to appear on the enchantress's blurry face. Not long ago, didn't we also hope that Taishu Temple and Xianmin Tianzong will fight to the death? Long Yi said, when the war between the two worlds truly arrives, Xianmin Tianzong will most likely be involved. At that time, there will still be a clash. As Xianmin Tianzong grows stronger, the corresponding human cultivation world will also grow stronger. The enchantress nodded. So, whether it's us or the other demons, time is tight. Xianmin Tianzong's rise exceeds everyone's imagination, making the situation complicated and difficult to understand. Whether it's us demons or the human Taishu Temple, we've all missed the best chance to eliminate Xianmin Tianzong. If we target him now, it will only let the other side take advantage. Long Ye's brows furrowed. But sure, Fu, if we let him go like this, Xianmin Tianzong will only grow stronger and stronger. The enchantress's tone was gentle and calm. That's right, so we need a suitable opportunity. This time, Golden Cicada is a pretty good opportunity. Regrettably, in the end, that thousand-law-heart ape is not on the same side as Golden Cicada. Otherwise, with him facing off against the master of Xian Gate, everyone can let loose and not have a headache. It's just a pity that, just like how Taishu Temple gave up completely falling out after seeing the strength displayed by the master of Xian Gate in the Battle of Mount Shu, the master of Xian Gate and that monkey are both understanding people. Long Yi laughed lightly. But this time, Golden Cicada has offended the master of Xian Gate badly. The master of Xian Gate will probably chase him to the ends of the earth. Golden Cicada is also a great demon of the Last Days realm. His strength is outstanding, and he's also pulled in White Tiger and Xiang Lu to help. If the master of Xian Gate really wants to take him down, it won't be easy. The heavenly charm great saint smiled and said, "It's not just Golden Cicada. The dragon tribe will definitely go against the master of the Celestial Gate this time." After the death of Zenith Emperor and Yu Emperor, other than the Hao Tian mirror that killed Ultimate Emperor, they naturally don't care about anything else. Even if they have to pay a huge price, they don't care. That's why Master, Disciple sometimes quite likes the Dragon Clan. Long Yi giggled. It's a pity that the Golden Rock Great Sage is very obedient and never provokes the dragon race. Otherwise, that treasure in his hands would also be used up. The enchantress said, Thunder Abyss Golden Rock is indeed arrogant, but his mind is very clear. He has an accurate understanding of himself and the outside world, which is why he was able to reach his current position. However, do not be deceived by his facade. He is low-key only because he is accumulating strength. Long Yi gazed into the distant horizon and said leisurely, It's a pity that he took an heir Qi Qiongqi and the Qiongqi clan. Back then, heir Qi Qiongqi and the master of the Celestial Sect of Wonders were also somewhat unhappy. The enchantress said faintly, If that's not the case, why has the evil Pu Qiongqi been in hiding all these years, apart from when the 3 mountains of Ocean appeared? Isn't it just to prevent the Celestial Sect of Wonders from finding trouble with him? Long Yi said, With the Kuan Dragon King and Golden Cicada, I think the Celestial Sect of Wonders Master will not be easy to deal with. It's a pity that it's the Kuan Dragon King and not the Yuan Dragon King. Otherwise, it would really be interesting. The Kuan Dragon King and the Great Sage returned together, so the siege of Taiwan Mountain can be considered to have been completely resolved. The people from Taishu Temple rushed back so quickly, and the Celestial Sect of Wonders Master and Golden Cicada made such a scene. It's really somewhat unexpected. Tianmei looked at Long Yi and said with a smile, It's fine. It's already enough. Although Lord Tai and the others returned earlier than expected, in order to resist the initial attack, that Wu Mengqi from Taishu Temple had no choice but to use his full strength. Thus, as expected, Taiwan Mountain was destroyed by his own people. The initial goal has been achieved. The people from Taishu Temple can only occupy that area of Taiwan Mountain now. The hand that they extended into infinite wasteland continent has already been chopped off until only bones are left. Previously, Kuan Dragon and Grandmaster Tongtian lingered there and did not leave, also to find an opportunity to see if they could kill a few experts from Taishu Temple. Long Yi giggled and said, "Master, the great sage of Fei is furious." The Fei was shaped like a strange snake, with one head, 2 bodies, 6 legs, and 4 wings. Whenever it appeared, it would cause a great drought, and the land would be barren for tens of thousands of miles. The current leader of the Fei Demon Clan, the great sage of Fei Demon Clan, was a great demon at the level of Star Soul unification. Not long ago, he joined the Enchantress. The ancestral land of the Fei clan was Taiwan Mountain. In the war between the two worlds 4,600 years ago, it was occupied by Taishu Temple, and they could not get it back. This time, the great sage of Fei was definitely the happiest person when the demons attacked Taiwan Mountain. In the end, not only did they not manage to take down Taiwan Mountain, but it was also destroyed. How could the great sage of Fei not be depressed? The Enchantress could not help but smile. The great sage of Fei actually knew about it before, but he was just holding on to hope. This is indeed something that can't be helped, and it is also expected. We can only compensate him in other ways in the future. Long Yi stuck out her tongue and chuckled. Someone is going to suffer. The Enchantress also looked into the distance and laughed in a low and hoarse voice. Kuan Dragon, Golden Cicada, don't let us down. At this moment, Lin Feng was still in the sky above the 9 Nether Peak. Lin Feng had a rough idea of what the Great Sage, the Enchantress, and the Golden Rock Great Sage were planning. But since he had decided to find Golden Cicada, he would not waver. Activating the Golden Cicada wings again, Lin Feng began to cast the spell. The Great Sage stood silently in the distant sky, his huge and terrifying body as quiet as a statue at this moment. Lin Feng glanced at him and continued to cast the spell. Thoughts flashed in his mind, trying to figure out the flowing light he had intercepted when Golden Cicada had activated the 9 Nether 10 Directions Incarnation Realm to escape. Lin Feng avoided everyone with this action. Neither Golden Cicada himself, nor the great sage Zhu Yan, who was next to him at that time, noticed it. Lin Feng carefully studied the artistic conception of these flowing lights. Suddenly, his heart moved slightly, and other associations emerged in his mind. This aura is a little familiar, it seems. Well, it seems that these two are likely to come from the same source. In that case, it makes sense. Lin Feng pondered, and the corners of his mouth curled up slightly. In the air, the golden cicada wings turned into golden light dancing and circling, once again outlining a huge and complicated pattern. With the pattern as the source, a golden path of light extended out again, winding between heaven and earth. Silently, the great sage looked at the golden path, his scarlet eyes flashing slightly. The battle between Lin Feng and the All-Law's inner ape just now had given him a more intuitive understanding of Lin Feng's strength. He owned a Spirit Abyss Mountain. Even if the Taishu Temple came with the Haotian Mirror, as long as the Haotian Mirror was not complete, it would not be easily broken. But if he fought to the death with Lin Feng, he would not be able to win for the time being, and others would benefit from it for nothing. Otherwise, if someone else had the clue to search for Golden Cicada, the great sage would have snatched it without hesitation. Silently, Lin Feng and the great sage were both silent, looking at the ever-extending path in the void. As for the original master of Abysmal Peak, Abysmal Sage, he was even more dejected at the moment. Since the great sage had appeared, he had not even looked at him. For Abysmal Sage, this was absolutely bad news. It meant that even if the great sage did not beat him up hard, his days would not be too good. Originally, his Ghost Monkey Clan and the Zhuyan Demonic Ape Clan were not on good terms. Although his cultivation was not as good as the Zhuyan Great Sages, he was also one of the few experts of the Ape Clan. In fact, he was highly regarded by the Great Sage. In the end, Abysmal Sage's greed got the better of him, and he made a bad move. If Golden Cicada's plan had succeeded, nothing would have happened. Abysmal Sage would have been able to shirk all responsibility afterward. He would not have left any evidence that Golden Cicada could use against him. He could still distinguish between Golden Cicada and the entire ape clan. However, he had been caught red-handed on the spot. Abysmal Sage had no way to quibble. In the end, he could only lose everything. It was impossible for him to really turn to the Juyin Great Sage. That would only bring disgrace to himself. Therefore, in the following days, under the command of the Great Sage, his situation was not very good. The path in the void kept extending. This time, Lin Feng did not wait long. With a wave of his hand, he swept up Wang Lin and the others, stepped on it, and walked along the path. The Great Sage still did not say a word. He also stepped on that path, walking with Lin Feng. Along the way, Lin Feng's heart suddenly moved slightly, his divine sense quickly sweeping across the surrounding heaven and earth. He couldn't help but smile. Interesting, there's an opportunity for you guys here. Even though I can't leave due to serious matters right now, I can still help you guys. As he released his dermic power, Shi Tianhao, Wang Lin, Yang Qing, Li Yuanfeng, Luo Qingwu, Tuntin, and Chu Yang arrived in front of him. Lin Feng looked at them and said, "There's an opportunity for you on this journey to the northwest. Make good use of it." Wang Lin and the others looked at each other. Except for Tuntin, they were all from the human clan, and in the vast land of infinite wasteland, they were viewed as enemies. In particular, Lin Feng's trip to the vast land of infinite wasteland this time was not very grand, but it was definitely not low-key. Although most of the demons in the vast land of infinite wasteland were afraid of Lin Feng's strength, it was inevitable that there would be people who would take risks out of desperation. His disciple had left his protection and acted alone, and it would be difficult to guarantee his safety. However, be it Wang Lin or Shi Tianhao, there were people who were used to taking risks. Furthermore, their master was not someone who would not make any arrangements despite knowing the dangers. Hence, Wang Lin and Shi Tianhao nodded first. "Yes, master." Yang Qing, Li Yuanfeng, and Luo Qingwu were not afraid of trouble, and they immediately answered in unison. "Yes, master." Chu Yang pointed to his nose and said hesitantly, "Sec master." Lin Feng waved his hand nonchalantly. "We can go together." Tuntin was not in a hurry to respond. Instead, it looked around and was suddenly overjoyed. This place seems to be very close to the mysterious underworld race's territory. Everyone's expressions turned a little strange. Lin Feng also shook his head and laughed. With a tap of his finger, Tuntin's expression changed, and it uncontrollably opened its mouth to spit out a small porcelain bottle. The words, "I love a piece of firewood," were written on the porcelain bottle. Tuntin panicked. "You can't take this away." With a tap of Lin Feng's finger, the porcelain bottle completely turned into nothingness, along with the spirit herb inside. He smiled and patted Tuntin's little head. "I won't interfere if you want to go to the mysterious underworld race's territory, but there's a limit to playing around." As he said that, Lin Feng looked at Wang Lin and Shi Tianhao with a smile. "All right, you guys can go. The key to this trip is magnetism. Grasp it well." Chapter 9:16. While Lin Feng was stirring up a storm in the infinite wilderness vast land, the divine land was relatively peaceful. The battle of Xian Extermination and Shu Mountain, which had involved almost the entire human cultivation world, had come to an end. Everyone was digesting the aftermath of the events. At the same time, many people were concerned about Lin Feng's trip to the infinite wilderness vast land. In the main hall of the Imperial Palace in the Great Qin Empire's capital, West Hill City, a few people were sitting opposite each other in silence. The person sitting on the high throne was naturally the Qin Emperor, Stonefeather. The people sitting in the center of the hall below him were the Great Qin royal family, led by the Rosen monarch Shizong Mao and the Nanming monarch Shizong Tang. However, no one, including the Qin Emperor, said anything at this moment. Everyone was in deep thought. No matter if it was in terms of cultivation or status, at their current level, they all had sufficient judgment and decisiveness. However, at this moment, all of the Empire's experts, including Stonefeather, felt hesitant, which was a rare sight. In the Battle of Xian Extermination, other than Lin Feng and Xianmin Tianzong, the biggest beneficiary was the Great Qin Empire. They confronted the Great Zhou Empire at the border, restraining the Grand Imperial Palace and the Great Wheel of Heavens until Lin Feng returned to the Great Thousand World. The Great Qin Empire played a key role. If they allowed the Grand Imperial Palace and the Great Wheel of Heavens to go to Kunlun Mountain, then Xianmin Tianzong might not be able to hold on until Lin Feng returned. Therefore, Lin Feng was not stingy with the rewards after the battle. He directly transferred the entire medium-sized world that the Great Zhou Empire had compensated to the Great Qin Empire. However, the Great Qin Empire and the Great Zhou Empire were not on good terms. They could not sit back and watch as the Great Zhou Empire joined forces with others to break through the Xian Gate and obtain treasures to increase their strength. Therefore, helping others was helping themselves. At the same time, they did not suffer any losses in the confrontation. From a certain perspective, obtaining the East Victorious world was like obtaining a resource-rich, medium-sized world for nothing. However, for the Great Qin Empire, these are just immediate benefits. Looking at the big picture, the gains were greater. Originally, Great Zhou's rise had been incredibly domineering, and it had already faintly surpassed Great Qin. However, from the Battle of West Hill City, where Lin Feng used the heaven-punishing sword to help the immortal dragon city completely refine, to the Battle of Ing Ocean, where Great Zhou lost the Fangzhong Celestial Mountain and the Grand Imperial Palace was damaged, the Great Qin Dynasty's immortal dragon city became stronger because of Lin Feng's instant radiance. The Great Qin Dynasty had completely turned the tables, and the situation between the two dynasties started to reverse. In the Xian Extermination Battle, the Great Zhou Empire once again hit a wall. Even though Lin Feng had gone to the Infinite Wasteland continent, the Great Zhou Empire had no choice but to completely switch to a defensive stance. They were no longer as tough as before, and the Qin dynasty's strategic stance had changed from defense to offense, beginning to suppress the Great Zhou Empire's space for development. The ruler and ministers of Great Qin were naturally happy to see this happen. However, not everyone was happy. Looking at the changes in the past few years, the Great Zhou Empire had gone from prosperity to decline, and in the process of the Great Qin Empire's resurgence, Xianmin Tianzong had held a crucial position. He had almost single-handedly directed the change in strength between the two dynasties in the Divine Land. During this period of time, the strength of the Celestial Sect of Wonders had increased explosively step by step, advancing at a speed that left one dumbfounded. Even the Qin Emperor, Stonefeather, felt a little overwhelmed. As such, the entire Great Qin Empire discovered a problem that made them feel awkward, which was how to define their relationship with Xianmin Tianzong. In the early days, whether it was the Great Zhou Empire or the Great Qin Empire, they both looked down on Xianmin Tianzong. Roping him in was to increase the power of the two dynasties' confrontation. It was just like how they did their best to fight for the northern militant imperial court and the Heavenpool sect in the north. Because Xianmin Tianzong and the Mount Shu sword sect were not on good terms and had displayed shocking potential, the Great Qin Empire had secretly supported Xianmin Tianzong. However, the development gradually exceeded the Great Qin Empire's expectations. Xianmin Tianzong quickly grew into a powerful faction that could stand on equal footing with the Great Qin Empire, and the relationship between the two became equal allies. However, after the Battle of Yinghai and the Battle of Xian Exterminating, Xianmin Tianzong once again displayed great growth and strength. As such, the ruler and ministers of Great Qin found that they had to look up to this former ally. The same thing also happened successively to the Celeritas Sword Sect, Thunderbolt Sword Sect, Grand Wilderness Sword Sect, Purple Sky Path, Northern Militant Imperial Court, and other forces. The rapidly changing situation forced them to adjust their mentality as soon as possible and adapt to the new position. Now, It was the great Qin Empire's turn. However, for Qin Emperor Stonefeather, this mentality was not so easy to change. It was true that his thoughts were deep and his style was steady. He was not as flamboyant and sharp as Emperor Zhou Liangpan. However, this did not change the fact that Stonefeather was an emperor like Liangpan. As an emperor, who would be willing to be under others? After the ancient times, the years changed. Before the Great Qin Empire and the Great Zhou Empire, many dynasties rose and fell. How many emperors did not look forward to the ancient times when a human emperor ruled the world and tens of thousands of immortals followed him? If Stonefeather was really willing to be under others, then during the Battle of Shilling City, he would not have joined forces with Lin Feng, Purple Sky Path, Northern Militant Imperial Court, and the Great Zhou Empire, which had always been his mortal enemy, to stand against Taishu Temple and abolish Taishu Temple's plan of using the world as a chess piece. In this world, how many people were willing to be a chess piece? How many people did not want to be a chess player? When people reached a certain height and faced those who stood at an even higher position, the first thing they would think of was not submission and fear, but surpassing and finding ways to win. Only when the gap was large enough would they show submission. However, this submission was not permanent. It was a temporary dormancy after recognizing reality. It was a necessary endurance to accumulate one's strength. However, the Great Qin Empire was currently in a rather awkward position that was neither up nor down. Stonefeather was very rational and had a good understanding of the Great Qin Empire's strength. He admitted that the current Xianmin Tianzong was already firmly above the Great Qin Empire. It could even be said that the current Xianmin Tianzong's only opponent was the high and mighty Taishu Temple of the past. They were opponents on the same level. Just like how no faction in the Divine Land could fight against Taishu Temple alone. Now, other than Taishu Temple, no faction had the ability to fight against Xianmin Tianzong alone. However, it was because they saw it so clearly that Stonefeather and the Great Qin Empire felt conflicted. In the Silent Hall, King Rosen Shirzongmao was the first to break the silence. He said, "The Great Zhou Empire calls us Xianmin Tianzong's subordinates, vassals, dogs, and followers behind our backs. They can call us whatever they want. What's important is how do we position ourselves, and how do we decide our future path?" His words were crude and did not match his status and the current situation. However, no one present cared. Silently, they looked at Shirzongmao and listened to him speak. Shirzongmao's expression was calm, and his tone was neither hurried nor impatient. I originally thought that after Xianmin Tianzong passed the profound, destroying tribulation, the situation would not change much. However, it seems that Xianmin Tianzong's strength far exceeds our expectations. Although I don't want to admit it, if the current situation continues without any changes, then our Great Qin will truly become a vassal state of Xianmin Tianzong, just like their own citizens in the Xintian realm. I don't agree with alienating or even becoming enemies with Xianmin Tianzong. Instead, I'm saying that we should be better at seizing and creating opportunities. The expressions of everyone present, including Shirzongtong, changed slightly. "You mean?" Shirzongmao nodded. "The next time the Ying sees three mountains reappear, the decisive battle with the Great Zhou dynasty, the next war between the two worlds, and so on could all be opportunities, as well as the official clash between Xianmin, Tianzong, and Taishu Temple, which is highly likely to happen in the future. If we can seize it, we will have a chance to truly rise up. If we can't, then we really have to consider completely adjusting the path we're going to take next." Shirzongmao finally said, "Thinking about it, the great Zhou's Liangpan and Zhu Hongwu have the same plan. Perhaps there are others as well." For a moment, Shirzongtong and the others did not say anything, all of them in deep thought. Only the Qin Emperor, the true ruler of the Great Qin dynasty who had been silent all this while, suddenly stood up. He said calmly, "Today's discussion ends here. Disperse." He had a calm and self-controlled personality. He was strict with himself and others. He was meticulous and would reflect on himself 3 times a day. After passing the test, he became the first elite disciple under Li Yuanfang. He was also the current representative of He Luo Ju. Although he entered the sect late, he had already gained quite a bit of fame within Xianmen Tianzong. Luo Qingwu's joke in the past had already become true. There were people in the celestial sect who gradually began to call him Zhou Yunsong and Su Yunsheng as the 3 Yuns. After Tan Yunxing appeared, he meticulously bowed to Wang Lin and the others. Disciple Tan Yunxing pays respect to 3rd Martial Uncle, 5th Martial Uncle, Little Martial Uncle, and Little Martial Aunt. On the other side, a young man in purple stood in front of Luo Qingwu. His slick expression hid a bit of arrogance. He was the only elite disciple under Luo Qingwu, Han Yang. Han Yang bowed to Wang Lin, Shi Tianhao, Yang Qing, and Li Yuanfang in a serious manner. Instead, he seemed a bit mischievous in front of Luo Qingwu. He smiled. Master, the spirit qi fluctuation of Tianhuang vast land is really annoying. Luo Qingwu raised her hand and knocked on his head. Think carefully and stop talking nonsense. Han Yang hugged his head and giggled. Master, hurry up and give me a junior brother or sister to share the burden. Otherwise, I'll always be the only one being hit by you. Shi Tianhao looked at Han Yang, Huang Jinting, Tan Yunxing, and Zhuge Wanqiu in front of him and said with a smile, It's rare for us to go deep into Tianhuang vast land this time. So I brought you guys here to broaden your horizons. If I let you guys go out to train, you won't be able to go so deep. Lin Feng had come to Tianhuang vast land this time to settle scores with Golden Cicada. Even if he did not deliberately keep a high profile, he would definitely attract attention. The demon experts who might clash with him were definitely not weak. They were all great demons who could run amok in Tianhuang vast land. Wang Lin and Shi Tianhao might be able to come into contact with such demon experts. Among the others, Yang Qing, Li Yuanfang, and Luo Qingwu actually could not to mention Han Yang, Tan Yunxing, Huang Jinting, and Zhuge Wanqiu. Although they had the protection of their elders, if they were to really go all out, just the aftermath of the battle could kill them if they did not take good care of them. Lin Feng dared to bring Yang Qing, Li Yuanfang, and Luo Qingwu here to train, but now that they left Lin Feng's side, Shi Tianhao, Luo Qingwu, and the others were alone with their own disciples, so it was not 100% guaranteed. But to the 4 of them, it was undoubtedly a rare opportunity to train. Yang Qing looked at them and said calmly, This is indeed a rare opportunity. Everything has its pros and cons. You guys should grasp it well. Wang Lin looked at Shi Tianhao and said, When necessary, we still need you and me to protect them. Shi Tianhao also stopped smiling and nodded. Of course, since we brought them out, we naturally have to bring them back safely. Luo Qingwu smiled and said, I hope that this trip can add 4 more golden elixir masters to our Xianmen Tianzong. Han Yang, Tan Yunxing, Huang Jinting, and Zhuge Wanqiu were all in the late stage of the Foundation Establishment realm. Among them, Goldie and Zhuge Wanqiu were already in the late stage of the Foundation Establishment realm during the Kunlun Mountain Dharma assembly 2 years ago in the Vast Thousand Worlds. It was just that at that time, they had just formed their pill cauldrons. Now, after a period of consolidation, they had reached the peak of the Foundation Establishment realm and were only half a step away from the core formation realm. Once they broke through the final bottleneck, they would have a chance to form the Golden Elixir. The 2 of them were still young. In the 2 years after the Kunlun Mountain Dharma Assembly, they did not spend too much time in the Universe Light Hall, where time accelerated. Cultivating Taoist techniques sometimes required painstaking effort. One could only rely on time to grind it bit by bit. One could not take shortcuts or be lazy. However, most of the time, concentrating on cultivating in seclusion would only be a waste of time and not the slightest effect. The profound mysteries varied from person to person. It required the cultivator to carefully analyze and grasp it. At the same time, it also required the careful guidance of the elders. Only then could one avoid taking the wrong path and not waste time in vain or even walk down the wrong path. When the opportunity arrived, the principle was comprehended, and there was enough accumulation of harvest, combining it with bitter cultivation and accumulation at this time. One could break through the bottleneck in one go and move forward. Sometimes, the path was indeed winding, which could cause people to lose patience and confidence, especially when people who were originally inferior to them had caught up or even surpassed them, but they were still in the same place and could not make any progress. It was very easy for them to lose their mentality and become impatient. As a result, the road ahead would become more and more blocked. This was also one of the dangerous barriers on the path of cultivation. Only after crossing it would it be another world. Cultivating Taoist techniques had never been a smooth road. All kinds of difficulties awaited everyone in front of them. This was the case for Goldie and Zhuge Wanqiu. Han Yang and Tan Yunqing, who had entered the sect later than them, had already caught up with their progress. Although, because of the existence of the Universe Light Hall, based on pure cultivation time, there was not much difference between the few of them. Wang Lin, Shi Tianhao, and the others had taken a risk to bring them in this time in the hope that they would be able to gain something. Among the previous second-generation disciples, other than Dao Yuding and Zhou Yunsong, there were also Lin Tong, Su Yunsheng, Ying Luojia, Li Xingfei, Lu Xiaofeng, and Tang Jun. The six of them had successively formed the Golden Elixir. Among them, Lin Tong, Su Yunsheng, Ying Luojia, Li Xingfei, Lu Xiaofeng, and Tang Jun had even formed their Golden Elixir before Zhou Yunsong. It was just that Zhou Yunsong had passed the Yin Fire Tribulation at the same time as he formed his Golden Elixir. As soon as he formed his Golden Elixir, his cultivation directly reached the middle stage of the Golden Elixir, surpassing the other five, except Lin Tong. This time, Ying Luojia defeated Su Yunsheng and became the second person among Xianmin Tianzong's second-generation disciples to form their Golden Elixir besides Dao Yuding. Zhu Yi bestowed upon him the Taoist name Tian Bai. It was taken from Zhu Yi's own interpretation of the Tao of Yi. By divinatory divination, Kuan Xia, Kinshang, Ji, Yuan Yongzhen, Wu Jiu, Feng Lai, Ho Fu Xiong. It mainly talked about internal and external communication and mutual unity. It represented Zhu Yi's expectations and advice for Ying Luojia. Among these six people, although Xiao Tong was slightly later than Ying Luojia and was the second to form her Golden Elixir, she was the only one apart from Zhou Yunsong to form her Golden Elixir. In terms of pure cultivation, she and Zhou Yunsong were slightly inferior to Dao Yuding, who was in the late stage of the Golden Elixir. There was nothing that could be done. The little fellow's foundation was just too solid. After she formed her Golden Elixir, Xiao Yin named her Wudong as Green Jade and Green Tong. He bestowed upon her the Taoist name Tianqing. After Su Yunsheng formed his Golden Elixir, Zhu Yi bestowed upon him the Taoist name Tianxi, which was also taken from the Tao of Yi. Tianxi divinatory divination, Kinshang, Yufu, Guangheng, Zhenji, Yidechuan. It symbolized waiting. She had the moral character of being honest and trustworthy. She was open and above board. She would naturally be successful in doing things. This was also Zhu Yi's expectation for Su Yunsheng. After Su Yunsheng successfully formed his Golden Elixir, he also followed Zhu Yi's arrangements and went to the Xintian realm. However, to the outside world, he said that he went out to travel. After Li Xingfei formed her Golden Elixir, Wang Lin bestowed upon her the Taoist name Tian Qi. Lu Xiaofeng and Tang Jun were bestowed the Taoist names Tian Yu and Tian Tsang respectively by Xiao Yin. Other than that, when Zhou Yunsong formed his Golden Elixir, Yang Qing bestowed upon him the Taoist name Tianjin. Among the other second-generation direct disciples, the ones who were most likely to enter the Golden Elixir period were Goldie, Han Yang, Zhuge Wanqiu, Tan Yunqing, as well as Zhu Yi's disciples Yang Tai and Yu Hongyan's disciple Zhao Huan. Lin Feng had always been concerned about this. However, in terms of the system's time, there was still plenty of time. Other than the most outstanding people, the majority of the group was about to catch up. Thus, he did not particularly care about it. However, as for Shi Tianhao and the others who had the intention to bring their disciples to train, he was supportive and encouraged. There was no such thing as achieving the great path without taking any risks. Even his own direct disciples, Li Yuanfang and Luo Qingwu, had suffered a lot over the years and experienced little risk. Tuntin ignored Han Yang and the others. Instead, it looked around excitedly. Finally, its gaze landed on a large swamp in the distance, and its eyes lit up. It's there, it's there. The ancestral land of the mysterious underworld race. Chapter 9:18. The swamp in front of them was called the mysterious underworld swamp. It was the ancestral land of the mysterious underworld race, and they had lived here for generations. From the outside, the lake was completely pitch black. There were no ripples, and the vast lake seemed to have solidified as if it was a solid object. Upon closer inspection, one could even see wisps of cold air rising from the surface of the lake. The sun was shining brightly in the sky, and the air was scorching hot far away from the swamp. However, one could only feel an intense chill near the swamp. Based on its color alone, it was somewhat similar to the Inyang Ocean at the foot of Jade Capital Mountain. However, it was different from the Inyang Ocean, which was extremely cold and dark. This swamp did not have the power of darkness or purine. It was purely cold, extremely cold. A gust of wind blew past, and the surface of the water was calm. The entire lake was like a huge black ice crystal. There was an ancient aura emanating from it, as if it was the Ice Age when everything in the world had been frozen, or when all things had walked towards cold extinction. This appearance was somewhat similar to the divine land of the Yu clan that had been flattened by Xianmin Tianzhou. However, the power within it was even more profound and powerful. Compared to the Yu clan, the mysterious underworld beasts had been able to control the mysterious underworld true water for a longer period of time. They were also more adept at it. This was the innate ability of their race. In addition to being able to control the mysterious underworld true water, the mysterious underworld beasts also possessed the bloodline of the black tortoise race. Although the bloodline connection wasn't strong and their appearances were very different, the physical strength and defensive capabilities of the mysterious underworld race were still rather impressive. As far as Wang Lin, Shi Tianhao, and the others knew, the current leader of the mysterious underworld race, the mysterious underworld great sage, was a great demon at the primordial true spirit realm. He had once been one of the 10 saints of the demon race and was an influential figure in Tianhuang mainland. However, as the situation had changed in recent years, many reclusive great demons had begun to move about frequently, and the mysterious underworld great sage had started to keep a low profile. This wise move allowed the mysterious underworld swamp to maintain its peace. Sure, Tianhao looked at the mysterious underworld swamp in front of him and pursed his lips. Barge indirectly? We don't have much time. We still have to find the opportunity that Master mentioned. Li Yuanfang frowned slightly. Just get someone to send a message and ask them to come out and explain things clearly. We don't have any enmity with the mysterious underworld race, and this race rarely enters the divine land. Even Tuntin himself only has a private matter with the profound nether beast. Shi Tianhao stared at the Xianming swamp and said, Senior brother, you haven't been to Infinite Mainland many times, so you don't know that the outcome is the same whether we pay a visit openly, or charge in openly, or sneak in secretly. For the demon race, the fact that we humans have arrived at their doorstep means that a war is inevitable. If you have anything to say, wait until after the battle. Whoever has the bigger fist will have the louder voice in the following conversation. Li Yuanfang thought of the battle between Lin Feng and Great Sage Zhu Yan when he first arrived at Xiaoqi Mountain and the fierce battle after they arrived at Nine Nether Peak. Monkey had come to ask for people, and they would talk after a fight. He immediately nodded in understanding. Although he did not agree with the demon race's style, he did not say anything else. if he had not witnessed the earth-shattering battle between Lin Feng and Monkey. The first thing the great sage would have done after returning was to size up Lin Feng's strength and methods before deciding on his subsequent attitude. It was actually not a big deal if a fight really broke out. Although the mysterious underworld great sage had his own ancestral land, he was not the great sage, and the Xianming Swamp was not the Deep Spirit Mountain. Anyone of Wang Lin or Shi Tianhao was confident enough to fight them one-on-one. If the two of them joined forces, the Xianming Swamp would definitely be destroyed. However, Tuntin had never avoided the entanglement with the Blackwater mysterious underworld being. Hence, Wang Lin, Shi Tianhao, and the others knew about it. They also knew that Tuntin's great ambition in life was to overthrow a promising young man of the mysterious underworld race. It was really a pain in the ass to make such a big fuss over such a matter. Even the lawless Shi Tianhao, who did not mind stirring up trouble or watching others stir up trouble, was somewhat uninterested. No one knew who was in the wrong in the matter between Tuntin and the Blackwater mysterious underworld being back then. I won't inform or attack. Tuntin's immature face had a rare look of seriousness. Shi Tianhao glanced at her in surprise. "Oh, it's rare for you to be so well-behaved this time." Tuntin rolled its eyes at him. "That's because you don't know. The Blackwater mysterious underworld being likes to run around. He often doesn't stay in the Xianming Swamp's ancestral land. Instead, he likes to open up cave abodes and live alone." She had come to the infinite wasteland vastland with Shi Tianhao before and had already heard some news. The Blackwater mysterious underworld being had been seriously injured in a great battle with her. Over the past few years, his physical body had been reconstructed and he had gradually recovered. If he isn't in the ancestral land now, it will be difficult to find him if we cause a ruckus here and he gets wind of it. Wang Lin, Shi Tianhao, and the others were speechless when they heard this. They had thought that Tuntin had finally grown up. Who would have thought that she was still so unreliable? Tuntin's eyes lit up. "Guard the entrance for a while and intercept a mysterious underworld beast that comes out or goes in. Then we'll ask them for the exact whereabouts of the Blackwater mysterious underworld being before deciding what to do next." The corners of Shi Tianhao's mouth twitched as he pursed his lips. "Why aren't you usually so shrewd? You only care about this and eating." The avatars that Lin Feng had entrusted to Li Yuanfang and Luo Qingwu shared their consciousness with Lin Feng and did not know whether to laugh or cry. Although he had let Wang Lin, Shi Tianhao, and the others go on their own, how could he not make any preparations and let his disciples roam the dangerous depths of the infinite wasteland vastland? Lin Feng was not worried about Wang Lin and Shi Tianhao, but he still had to take care of the others. However, this was limited to protecting their lives. Even if Li Yuanfang, Luo Qingwu, and the others were in a perilous situation, Lin Feng would not care. It is only in that kind of hopeless situation where there is no chance of survival that Lin Feng will make a move to save them. But he will only change the situation from one where there is no chance of survival to one where there is no chance of survival. The real chance of survival still depends on them to struggle and grasp at themselves. Letting his disciples gain experience did not mean that he was sending them to their deaths, but they had to look like they were training. A fledgling that was always under the protection of its elders would never be able to spread its wings and soar. Tuntin's large eyes lit up as it stared at the great mysterious underworld swamp. Yang Qing silently said, "It will be too much of a waste of time if we keep waiting here. No one knows when mysterious underworld beasts will come and go." Tuntin turned its head and glanced at Yang Qing. Its throat rolled for a moment, but did not say anything. It had a feeling that Yang Qing was very different from before after returning from mountain. Shi Tianhao smiled and said, "Since you're going to scratch your tongue, you can just wait here. You definitely won't be stupid enough to capture those mysterious underworld beasts that are clearly stronger than you, nor will you provoke the great mysterious underworld saint. Since you found out the whereabouts of the Blackwater mysterious underworld saint, your current strength should not be inferior to his. You can settle your personal grudge between the two of you." Tuntin was about to say something when its expression suddenly changed. It turned its head to look into the distance and saw a ball of light flying towards the great mysterious underworld swamp. Upon closer inspection, it was a humanoid figure with a bird's body. An azure snake hung from each of its ears, and it stood on two strange beasts that looked like azure snakes. It was a pure-blooded, mysterious underworld beast. Based on its demonic power undulations, it was a mysterious underworld demon commander that had formed a demonic core. Tuntin's face immediately bloomed with joy. Haha, I really get what I want. It immediately moved forward to capture the mysterious underworld beast before it could approach the great mysterious underworld swamp. This place was very close to the great mysterious underworld swamp after all, and the mysterious underworld ancestral land immediately sensed something. Wang Lin was not interested in interfering in such matters, while Shi Tianhao waved his hand in boredom and helped Tuntin isolate the mysterious underworld race's ancestral land from the pure-blooded mysterious underworld beast senses. Through concealment, the great mysterious underworld swamp would not be able to detect any activity in this area for the time being. Tuntin's interrogation was very effective. That's why I knew that Blackwater was probably not in the ancestral land. Sure enough, we almost came empty-handed. She smiled proudly and said, "Our luck is too good. That guy even knows Blackwater's exact whereabouts. It's a good omen to open today." At the sight of Tuntin's appearance, everyone from Lin Feng to Han Yang, Goldie, and the rest could not help but think in their hearts, "Isn't someone's luck a little too terrible?" The residence that Blackwater had built was actually not too far from the great mysterious underworld swamp. Strictly speaking, it was still within the mysterious underworld race's sphere of influence. This residence was called the Cold Wind Mountain, and it was located in the Jade Pool mountain range to the east of the great mysterious underworld swamp. There was also a large lake there, and the mountains and rivers around the lake were connected. It was the habitat of the Tibetan turtle race. The Tibetan turtle also had the bloodline of the black tortoise, but it was also a branch of the mixed-blood black tortoise that depended on the mysterious underworld race. Blackwater Mysterious Underworld was the son of the current mysterious underworld great sage, and he had outstanding potential and strength. He was worthy of the title of young clan master, so it was naturally very easy for him to establish a residence on the outskirts of the Tibetan turtle race's territory. Tuntin did not know if it did not like to eat or if it thought too highly of itself that it would become someone's mistress in the future. In any case, Tuntin did not make things difficult for the unlucky mysterious underworld creature. After receiving the news, it immediately headed to the Cold Wind Mountain in high spirits. Who knew that it would run into a wall there? A mysterious array formation had been set up on the Cold Wind Mountain, preventing Tuntin from entering. This made the little tout-eye stomp her feet in anger. This must be an array formation set up by the Tibetan turtle race to curry favor with their master. Why would the mysterious underworld race play such tricks? The demons of vast Tianwang mainland all had different talents. In fact, there were also demons that were adept at setting up arrays. There were also a few powerful array masters in the demon realm. For example, the 9 Glory Sky-Shattering Array was one of them. The Tibetan turtle race was very proficient in array formations. Tuntin anxiously looked at Li Yuanfang. Li Yuanfang frowned slightly. Although he was very interested in breaking the various array formations, he did not really want to care about Tuntin. Unexpectedly, the eyes of the similarly indifferent Wang Lin suddenly flashed as he said, "Sixth junior brother, do you still remember what Master told us before we left?" Li Yuanfang's expression turned solemn as Lin Feng's words surfaced in his mind. The key to this trip is magnetic. The array protecting the Cold Wind Mountain used magnetic force as its foundation. According to Li Yuanfang's knowledge, the Tibetan turtle race's array formation had always relied on earth and water, but he had never heard that magnetic force was involved. Chapter 919. A person who focused his entire life on one thing Even if he was limited by his talent and luck and would not have great achievements, he would definitely be able to make a name for himself in this industry. However, if it was someone who was already talented in this aspect and was willing to focus on it from start to finish without any distractions or wavering, coupled with the guidance of a famous teacher, superior external environment, and material support, then his achievements in this aspect would definitely catch the attention of the world. Li Yuanfang was such a person. Among all the personal disciples of Lin Feng, if one had to find a person who was the most partial, it would not be Yu Hongyan, who specialized in martial arts, nor Luo Qingwu, who specialized in sword arts, but Li Yuanfang. Even Yu Hongyan and Luo Qingwu, although they specialized in one aspect, they actually dabbled in other aspects of spells and supernatural powers. It was just that they were not proficient in it. Only Li Yuanfang did not cultivate any supernatural powers other than formations. His understanding of other supernatural powers and Dharma spells were all limited to theory. It was not because he was really interested, but because he felt that he needed to know himself and his enemy so that he could effectively deal with different opponents in the future. In his daily cultivation, apart from the heavenly virtue scripture passed down by Lin Feng, the various supernatural powers and Dharma spells that Li Yuanfang studied were all formations. In addition to the formations of Xianmin Tianzong, he had also studied all the formations in the great Tianyuan world that he could come into contact with. He had even dabbled in some of the demon clan's formations. Over the years, whether it was Li Yuanfang himself or the other disciples of Xianmin Tianzong, as long as they went out to travel, they would try their best to bring back the formation maps that they could find. In the past, in Yingxi, Zhu Yi once said that his sixth junior brother's attainments and formations, including the cultivators of Xianmin Tianzong and Xianmin Tianzong, there were no more than 5 people below the essence soul realm who could be compared with him in terms of attainments and formations in the entire divine land. Not only was this not an exaggeration, Zhu Yi was even making a conservative estimate. Now that Zhu Yi had proven his primordial soul realm, he would say that there were no more than 5 people below the primordial soul realm in the entire heaven primordial world, including the human race and the demon race. Moreover, it did not mean that they could defeat Li Yuanfang. In fact, in Zhu Yi's opinion, after Li Yuanfang attained the late stage of the golden elixir, he was almost invincible under the essence soul realm in terms of pure array formation transformations. If it wasn't for the fact that his understanding of the Tao of heaven and earth had deepened after he attained the primordial spirit, even when Zhu Yi was at the later stage of Yuanying, he could faintly feel that Li Yuanfang was already above him in terms of the Tao of formation changes, regardless of the strength of his mana. Although the Tibetan turtle race was not considered a strong race among the many demon races in Tianhuang mainland, they were very outstanding in terms of array formations. Therefore, Li Yuanfang had some understanding of them. He had the ancient mountain-condensing jade array of the Tibetan turtle race. That was when Shi Tianhao entered Tianhuang mainland once and accidentally saw the array formation. Using his superior dermic powers and cultivation realm, he forcefully wrapped the array formation with his dermic powers and dug out the array formation along with the mountains and rivers that served as a geographical advantage. Such a violent method naturally damaged the array formation. At the same time, although the surrounding mountains and rivers were dug out, the circulation of the array formation's spirit chi and demonic powers would definitely be affected. By the time Shi Tianhao brought it to Li Yuanfang, it was already an incomplete array formation. However, this did not affect Li Yuanfang's enthusiasm in trying to figure it out. In the end, after a long period of research, he forcefully rebuilt the broken ancient mountain-condensing jade array with his own dermic powers. Although it was no longer set up by the demonic powers of the demon race, and the operation was still a little sluggish, Li Yuanfang was still able to perfectly restore the array formation. After some improvements, he made the array formation of the human race's dermic powers perfect. Thanks to this experience, Li Yuanfang had a deep understanding of the array formation of the Tibetan turtle race in the demon realm. Based on his own cultivation and dermic powers, Wang Lin could tell that the array formation that enveloped Cold Wind Mountain was set up by magnetic forces. However, Li Yuanfang thought more. Although this array formation also relied on the water vein of Jade Pool Mountain, combining the power of water and magnetic forces. But this array formation, which was different from the array formation of the Tibetan turtle race, still allowed Li Yuanfang to see some clues. Although this array formation was set up by an array formation expert of the Tibetan turtle race, it was also a kind of improvement on their own array formation. However, the item used to set up the array formation must have been a treasure rich in magnetic forces. Li Yuanfang stared at the array formation in a daze for a moment. Then his eyes gradually became calm. Seeing this, Luo Qingwu let out a chuckle, moved closer to him, and asked, "Senior Marshal Brother Yuanfang, what do you think?" "It's not Yuanfang, it's Yuanfang." Li Yuanfang was the first to correct her. Then he glanced at Luo Qingwu and said seriously, "Junior Marshal sister, you've been led astray by Master." He said this seriously, and his tone did not sound like he was joking. Beside him, Shi Tianhao burst out laughing, and Wang Lin and Yang Qing also smiled. The conversation between them was conducted through telepathy using dermic powers, so they did not have to worry about being overheard by the younger disciples. Luo Qingwu stuck out her tongue and giggled. "Yes, Senior Marshal Brother Yuanfang." Only then did Li Yuanfang nod. Then he looked around at the people around him and said seriously, "Among the treasures used to set up this array formation, there is something rich in the power of magnetism." He had always been careful with his words and rarely spoke in a speculative tone. If he did not have the confidence, he would rather not speak. But if he did speak, it would usually be with a considerable amount of confidence. From Li Yuanfang's words, it was very difficult to hear words like afraid, possibly, perhaps, and perhaps. Hearing this, Wang Lin nodded and calmly asked, "If we forcefully break the array formation, will that treasure be damaged?" This time, Li Yuanfang was not in a hurry to answer. Instead, after carefully observing for a moment, he finally answered, "It will be damaged. Let me do it." After that, he descended to the cold wind mountain below. Meanwhile, Tan Yunqing's expression was calm as she also descended with her master. These years, he had been cultivating with Li Yuanfang, and his attainments and formations were quite exquisite. Among the second-generation direct disciples, he was almost second to none. When accepting disciples, Li Yuanfang did not require his disciples to specialize in formations like him. Instead, he completely respected his disciples' individual wishes. However, what he was most proficient in was still formations. Back then, when the true disciples entered He Luo house, the tests were all related to formations. Those who could pass would not be lacking in talent in this aspect, and Tan Yunqing was one of the best. Although she was not as fanatical and infatuated as her master, she was similarly interested in all kinds of profound formations. Now that there was a chance to observe her master break the array formation up close, she naturally would not miss it. Back when Li Yuanfang had restored the jade condensing formation of the ancient mountain, Tan Yunqing had also participated. The formation that enveloped Cold Wind Mountain was usually invisible, but when someone approached or even entered it, it would immediately react. Rays of faint light circulated. If one did not look closely, they would not even be able to see them. However, when one was truly within it, one would feel as if an enormous power was about to distort, squash, and explode one's body. Their spirit would crack and tremble as if it was about to be torn apart. The qi and blood in their bodies churned, as if the blood in their bodies was like boiling water. If a metal object was inserted into the formation, it would immediately distort in an extremely exaggerated manner or be squashed into a pancake. This was the result of the enormous magnetic force. This formation was rather sinister and well hidden, making it difficult to detect. By the time it was discovered, it would often be too late, and the berserk power would instantly erupt. Tunten had almost suffered a loss just now. Not only had she not discovered it, but her current body was reconstructed from the flesh of the Gung Metal Tiger clan and was restrained by the Jade Water Magnetism formation. If she had not reacted in time, and activated the swallowing heaven and devouring earth ability of the Taotai clan to devour a large amount of magnetic force, she would have been completely trapped in the formation. If that had happened, she would have only been able to rely on her dermic powers and the formation to resist. Her devouring power was extremely powerful, and even the jade water magnetism formation could not do anything to her. However, her physical body would very likely be damaged during the prolonged tug-of-war. Tuntun's expression was very ugly. "Great, Blackwater mysterious underworld. You're here specifically for me." She had frequently traveled to the infinite wasteland vastland with Shi Tianhao and had fought many demon race members. The origin of her new physical body was no secret. Li Yuanfang's expression did not change after he arrived in front of the formation. Without turning his head, he said to Tan Yinxing, "Look carefully and think seriously." As he spoke, Li Yuanfang stepped into the air and walked into the formation. His footsteps were very strange. He moved forward, backward, left, and right without any pattern. 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, 5 steps forward after a left turn, and then immediately returned to his original spot before moving forward again. Strangely enough, Li Yuanfang had clearly stepped into the range of the jade water magnetism formation, but he did not trigger the powerful magnetic force that even the Demon King Tuntun had to carefully deal with. Li Yuanfang's movements were strange, but the jade water magnetism formation did not seem to exist, even though he constantly shifted in the air. After walking for a short while, Li Yuanfang had strangely arrived at the foot of Cold Wind Mountain. As Li Yuanfang continued to advance, huge formation runes lit up one after another beside the pool at the foot of the mountain. With every step Li Yuanfang took, a huge formation rune would dim after lighting up, and the next rune would light up. A large amount of icy blue mysterious underworld true water suddenly fell towards Li Yuanfang, and a mysterious and complicated formation lit up above Li Yuanfang's head. It did not seem very large, but it was densely packed with all kinds of runes. The spirit formation above his head blocked the attack of the Xianming True Water. Instead, Li Yuanfang walked into the pool step by step. Under the pool, he arrived in front of flashing white light. He raised his hand and took out a black jade belt, carefully sweeping up the white light. The jade water magnetism formation was immediately destroyed when Li Yuanfang collected the white light. "Blackwater mysterious underworld, I'm coming. Let's see where you can hide now." Tuntun cheered and charged up Cold Wind Mountain. However, her cheers soon stopped and were replaced by a scream, as if she had seen a ghost in broad daylight. There was no fear in her scream, but surprise. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.